Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier. Then make sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football, or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football. Ina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard, or call 234-254-8532.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here. And here is Western Reserve Radio. And do we have a lot to get to in the wonderful world of sports? Break down the draft. Get to the quarterbacks. Obviously, talk about Shedeur Sanders dropping in the draft. What does it mean? Also, maybe we'll talk about Mel Kiper's meltdown about how the NFL just never gets it right. Mel Kiper, very good at what he does. I like Mel Kiper. I think he does a great job in breaking down the draft. I just think he kind of went a little bit off the deep end when he was breaking down Shedeur Sanders and the NFL, and he got slightly carried away. I'll be nice about it. Hey, but it's all fun. One thing I always remember with mock drafts, so that's why they call them mock drafts, is because you're never going to get them right. Nobody knows where these players are going initially, and nobody knows how good they're going to be until probably 3 years, maybe 3 years, 4 years. I think you usually have a pretty good handle on what your draft did or did not do. Get to the NBA also. Big game last night. Houston at Golden State will force a Game 7. Houston, big win, 115-107 over Golden State. What does that basically translate to? Well, that translates to Game 7, which they will play that Sunday night in Houston. So Golden State could have wrapped up the series last night at home, but failed to. Watching the game, Houston was controlling the game from kind of the get-go. Golden State was trying to get in it, but could not. So we have a game 7. Then tonight we have the other game 7 in the first round. It's just ironic of the four playoffs in the first round for the Western Conference. 2 of the 4 are 7-game series. We didn't have any 7-game series in the East. In fact, Cleveland was a sweep. The Knicks won in 6 over Detroit. Boston won 5 over Orlando, which realistically didn't come as an overshock. And then Indiana also won 5 games over Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. Then over in the West is obviously the 2 game 7s. Game 7 tonight, LA, Denver. It's been a close series from the get-go. That's going to be game 7 tonight. Mm-hmm. The winner of this will go on and play the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then the winner of the Houston Golden State, they were supposed to play the Lakers. I picked the Lakers, Dave Clark. We picked the Lakers.
Yep.
But what happened? Lakers went out in 5.
Yep.
To a lot of people's surprise. I was a little surprised, but Minnesota's a very good basketball team. We're going to have to get talk about what does that mean with LeBron James? Is he going anywhere? He's got a contract that he can opt out of now. He's got basically, I believe, what was the number? I'll get it up. But LeBron contract is an opt-out, which means LeBron could be a free agent. Mm-hmm. He can go anywhere he wants, or he could stay and play for the Lakers at least one more year. But the way it looks like now, LeBron's contract is for $52 million. He's got an opt-in for $52,627,000. He can opt into that, or he can opt out of that, being a free agent. Mm-hmm. Then the other question would be, if LeBron does opt out and goes somewhere else, where's Bronny go? Because Bronny's got a guaranteed deal. Mm-hmm. In fact, Bronny has got a deal, $1.1 million this year, $1.9 next, and $2.3 million, round that up, his third year, and then the team option for the fourth. So I guess the question comes down to LeBron also had a strained MCL in Game 5, which he kind of played through it. Then, I mean, we're going to get into that because, where's LeBron? Do you think he's leaving LA?
Nah, it's kind of hard to think I'm doing that. I mean, that'd be hard for me to see him, to think of him leaving there. And then only other place I'm thinking, and it'd be big city, it'd be our Knicks.
Yeah, I was wondering
would he go from one coast to the other? But I don't think so. I think he'll stay. They'll work on something, but they gotta do some upgrades, because the big problem, it was said way before the season was over. Even when they got rid of Anthony, when they had Anthony Davis, what did Anthony Davis say he wanted to play? Power forward, his natural position. Lakers never addressed the center position. And they were talking about at one time bringing Dwight Howard back along with McGee.
Yeah.
And I said, with Hayes there, and I thought that would be good. Some of the other guys they had on the bench just had those 3 guys, because once they went, I mean, Rudy Gobert looked like the second coming of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yes.
Scoring like crazy, rebounding. I mean, but he was the biggest guy on the court, and he used his size to his advantage. I mean, he did what he's supposed to do. But that doesn't happen if you got Dwight Howard there. It doesn't happen if you got McGee and Hayes. He's not getting 27 and 20 or whatever. I think he might even have 30 and 20-something rebounds. He's not getting that. So, they was just so outsized in that. And, knowing that LeBron is saying he had the MCL sprain, he played through it. Then you're looking at Luka playing through the back situation. There's no way they beating a healthy Minnesota team. And that's exactly what happened. So they got to do something on there. But I'll be shocked if he leaves out of there. But it could happen, because if he does leave and go somewhere else, what you think? 1 or 2 years is all he's going to do. And I think that he'll.
Well, LeBron is 40. He turns 41 in December. Mm-hmm. So depending on where LeBron goes, he will turn 41. Mm-hmm. Now, he's still playing pretty good for a man of 41. In fact, it's the best I've ever seen a 41-year-old player play in my life. I never saw a 41-year-old player play that good.
Right.
Now, he's still not the old LeBron. Of course he's not, but he's still pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember anybody playing,
no.
People try to bring up other people. There's no one that's played at that level, not at 41.
Right.
Not that age. So that's the best. I mean, he still can run the court. He's
still, defense a little iffy at times.
Yeah.
But again, you can't expect him to play fantastic defense. The problem they have with that team, for the record, looking at the game, which to me, watching that game, and I did stay up and watch the entire game, Minnesota had a horrible shooting night. They couldn't throw a three-pointer in the Pacific Ocean if they tried. They were just horrendous from three-point land. They kept heaving up threes, and it was like, okay, guys, why don't you this is what always amazes me with teams, is they get infatuated with the threes, and when they're not going in, instead of saying, okay, let's just try to get it, drive in, get it to go to the basket, hit it, let's shoot a 12-footer, not a 30-footer. No, they kept heaving up 3 and 3, and they were begging Los Angeles to get into the game.
Yeah.
They just wanted the Lakers to get back into the game, and the Lakers just could not outdo it. I mean, to me, Minnesota was serving that game up on a platter, begging Los Angeles to get into the game because we can have game 6 back in Minnesota. So here, LeBron, here, guys, here's the game. We can't make threes, but we're going to continue to throw up 3-point shots till we're, and clang, clang, clang. The only one that made the difference is Michael Conley, the Ohio State University guard way back when, made that big 3 that sealed it for the Lakers toward the end of the game. But the point is, that whole game, I thought, man, Minnesota's just trying to give this game to the Lakers. And the thing is, the Lakers just did not respond.
Yeah.
And anytime, and then Rudy Gobert, yes, he turned into Will Chamberlain or Abdul-Jabbar or whoever you want him to be. Yeah, back in the old day, or Nate Thurman. That was a Nate Thurman type of game too. Back in now, Nate Thurman was an absolute underrated beast of a player, great player. 27 points, 15 rebounds for Rudy Gobert. The Lakers were dominated inside. You can make the argument that was probably the difference in the game, which it was. But that roster construction with the Lakers, something's got to change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They never used Jackson Hayes at all. I mean,
that makes no sense to me.
And I don't understand. And I know Redick is getting a lot of.
Oh, he needs to get it. He needs to get, because you using, and I have nothing against what's his name, Kleber. Because that guy could hit threes, but he hadn't played.
Right.
He had just came back. He hadn't even practiced. He got cleared and played in the game. Now, okay, let's get him in for a few minutes, but you don't play Jackson Hayes at all. I mean, he didn't even get in. I'm looking at him on the bench. He just looking forward. I'm like, what is it, a punishment? I mean, get the guy. I don't care if he fouls or whatever. Get him in there.
But get him.
Because he'll put a body on Gilbert to get off the boards. But nope, I did not understand that. And just like Kendrick Perkins said the game before when they lost in game 4, that was his fault too, playing those guys.
Yeah, the whole second half and not bringing.
I mean, what are you doing? You got a 40-year-old. You got, and we didn't know the situation was going on with him. Then you got a Luke who's back. He's having some issues.
And he was evidently had a flu or he was sick.
And he never was in tip-top shape.
No, he's not. So
why are you doing that? You need those guys down the stretch. And when down the stretch came, those guys had nothing. It's just I don't understand what he was doing there. and those big mistakes. But I understand his first year of doing stuff, but don't be sensitive. Because they're coming at you. This is a different era at this time of life.
Oh yeah,
the media's coming.
Did get right.
He got very sensitive.
With the press, they came. It's lucky he doesn't coach in New York because the press in New York would have just taken.
They'd ate him alive.
They would have eaten him alive. I mean, the LA press, LA, little bit more laid back. Even I heard the guy the way he asked the question. He was like, "All right, I'm asking you this question." He was kind of like trying
to be nice.
Yeah, he was being very nice.
Yeah,
and Reddick got mad at him and
that would not have been asked that way in
New York. He would have had those reporters would have been hanging him out to dry. They would have been harping on him. Like,
they would have said things like, "I've never seen this in all my time." Somebody that, this guy would have been feeling like so small, So
they would have skewered him in New York. That press would have roasted. They would have taken him out to the woodshed.
That's a different animal.
But Jackson Hayes, this is probably his last year with the Lakers. He's in the end of the contract, $2.4 million. I thought to myself, at least put a body on Gobert and make him go to the free throw line. And he's not a good free throw shooter at all. So bring Jackson Hayes in and say, look, if he gets the ball, foul him.
Yeah, hack him.
Hack a Rudy. We're going to put you in there. You're going to probably play 10 or 15 minutes here, but get in there. If Gobert grabs a rebound, grab him and don't let him put it up and put him on the line.
Yeah. And then you could just give them some of those fouls that they do.
Yeah.
Where this is a take foul. You just give it to him. They go to the line.
Right.
He's not a good shooter.
No.
It's not that he won't. He might not do like our guy Adams did last night. He wasn't missing anything. They kept putting him on the line. He stepped right up there and was hitting them.
Yeah.
He missed something, but he didn't.
No, but he was making them.
They thought they could use that. They couldn't use that strategy. The guy was making them. And but you got to at least try it.
Right.
And they didn't.
I mean, at least try to knock Gobert off the block a little bit, knock him back, take him out on a roll, because he was just dominating the boards. Mm-hmm. He had that couple great putbacks where he grabbed the ball off the rim. No one touched him, obviously. But he was just dominating the boards, and he's Rudy Gobert. I mean, he's a good player. Not great, but he's a solid player. Good player.
He's a player. I would have definitely used him on my team, but he's not.
Right. No, he's not Wilt or Chamberlain. He's not Chamberlain or Jabbar.
I love they're messing with Shaq. They said, Barkley. He said, he would have ate you up tonight, Shaq. But Shaq didn't say. They just kept laughing.
Yeah,
because Shaq would have killed him.
Oh yeah. Shaq,
I could see him just burying him so far up under the basket.
Oh yeah. Shaq would have.
I started watching some things on him, Shaq, because, he talks to that, and you be wondering, well, how dominant he really was. Yeah, I see why. Matt Barnes and his show that he had. Yeah, he was super dominant.
Oh, no.
It's just in that MVP year with the Lakers, him and Kobe. You wasn't stopping them guys. No.
No, the thing.
It was just ridiculous.
When Shaq was in his prime.
Yeah, let's just forget it.
He was, he got fouled every play. They didn't call it because...
Yeah, I could say that.
He did. They fouled him every play.
Yeah, you're right.
Hack a Shaq.
I've never seen a guy get beat up so
and I never saw a guy, but still dominate.
Yeah. And not go off. He could have gone crazy on somebody.
And he went with it, but he never let it impact his game.
Right.
But he got fouled every play. And he was like, you remind me of the Mariano Rivera of down low. No one's stopping him.
No.
He just pure buttes, and he had ability to move. He had great, foot speed. He could do anything he wanted to, and nobody could stop him down low.
Oh, yeah.
And he just dominated the NBA for many years until obviously then toward the end he got too old. But I mean, he would have had Gobert for lunch. I mean, he would that would have been not fair, but the Lakers need to figure stuff out. Maybe they want LeBron to go. Here's lies your dilemma.
Yeah, they might want him to leave.
They might. Because right now he's got the opt-in contract for $52 million. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Luka's on the books for $45 million. Then his following year, he's got the opt out or opt in for $48 million. So if you look into next year's team, if you lose LeBron, right now the team's got $189 million payroll. Mm-hmm. Now, Dorian Finney-Smith has got he's another guy that can opt in or opt out. Austin Reeves is there for $13 million. He's not going anywhere. Max Gleber is $11 million next year. He's there. Gabe Vincent, $11.5. And the point is, but if you if you decide if LeBron opts out, do the quick math, 189 million less 52 million, that's going to basically knock that down to 137 million. So all of a sudden now you have some flexibility maybe to build around Luka, which you have to do. Mm-hmm. You're just going to do it maybe a year earlier than you want, but you got to, and then you got to decide on Luka. Do you really want to build around him? Now, all of a sudden, Dallas doesn't look so bad in trading him because people are going, yeah, he looked out of shape.
He was.
Didn't play. He played okay, but he didn't play very good. He didn't play as good as he did last year when he got them into the finals.
Yeah, much else. I mean, you could see that he score and he could do all those things, but
he has to, like Charles Barkley said it. He can't guard a chair. Is how Charles said it. I mean, Charles is so funny. That's why I stayed up, toothpicks in the eyes, to watch those guys talk about the Lakers, and they are hysterical.
I mean, that's why I said when the trade happened, okay, I said you're going to lose some things with Anthony Davis. You're going to gain some things with Luka. Luka, they both can score, but Luka can definitely rack it up. But you're going to miss major defense in a rim protector in Anthony Davis. But they say, hey, he be hurt all the time. Okay. But when you look at it, so does Luka. So, it was, just like when you get a new toy, it is great. Just like at Christmas time for the first few weeks. And then all of a sudden that toy's in the corner. It's not as great as it was when you first got it. And that's how the Lakers was. They came out once he started playing. They were on fire.
Yep.
I mean, they looked like the best team. I mean, you had to look out and say, oh, this team is on it. And then it started to simmer down. And then it was that toy in the corner because it wasn't the same. You didn't have a rim protector. You got away with it for a while. Hayes could do what he can, but you really didn't have nobody behind him. Once he goes out, there was nobody. So, I mean, they didn't do anything well as far as trying to have the type of roster that can do something with it. So, I think you do. I think LeBron does go, and if he does, I don't see him. If he doesn't leave the West Coast, then where would he go? And it's that team that's playing in a 7-game series, and that's called the Golden State Warriors. How they do it, I don't know, but they probably will. They probably figure out a way.
That's going to be
because I mean, Denver might be another team too because of their contracts is not as big, but it'd be something to see where would he go in his career.
Here's what happened. Yeah, we'll wait. LeBron's interesting because people now are speculating he may retire. He didn't rule that out. He just said, I don't know yet. I got to talk with the family. The standard answer that all players should give after the season. Instead of making a comment like I'm quitting, I'm staying. Yeah. It's the standard answer as well. I sit down with the family, we reflect, I go through things, I talk, blah, blah, blah. And then I decide which is right.
But why would you get mad when you ask the person right after they got done playing a game they just lost, immediately you come, are you retiring?
Well,
nobody's thinking about that right now.
No.
You're trying to get yourself together after a loss and start thinking about other things, and it's right. Go talk to the family. Just let me regress.
Right. I gotta sit back. Yeah, figure this out.
They don't even let them digress. They go right into it.
Oh no. Well, that's the press. They
come right at it. Why didn't you give us answer?
They got somebody in their ear. Make sure you ask that question. Yeah. Are they going to retire? Are they going to retire? Well, here's the dilemma, kind of with Luka. Is they drafted Luka. In the last 21 games of the season, they were 18-3 with Luka. Mm. All that goes away because, all right, there were some people that thought the Lakers could be a wild card for the playoffs. In other words, they could be an interesting team if they, everybody figured if they get into a conference final, can they make it to a final? Because that's what I was thinking. I personally thought that the Lakers could be that one of those wild teams. And so you were thinking maybe, but nobody thought they traded for Luka, getting one and done in the playoffs, especially losing in 5 games to the Timberwolves, who are a good team, deceivingly. However, that's not what the Lakers had in mind either.
Right.
They made the trade for Luka. I know he was your future. Build around him. I hear that. But nobody said with Luka and LeBron, we'll be out in the first round after we play the Timberwolves in 5 games.
Right.
No, that's not good.
No.
You've got issues with Redick as a coach. I'm sorry, inexperience. But the regular season is forgotten. They were only 1 game better than Minnesota. That's the thing what people don't realize. Minnesota was a 6 seed. The Lakers were a 3 seed, but they were only 1 game record-wise. The Lakers had won 50. Minnesota won 49 games. They were only 1 game better than the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Right.
So the difference, and we're seeing that in Western Conference is because you've got the 2 game 7s between 2 teams, 2 and a 7,
right?
Houston and Golden State, and that's a game 7.
Yep.
And then the 3 and 6, well, that was the Lakers, but the 4 and 5 is Denver and the Clippers are game 7s.
But that's how close.
The West has been all year. We talked about it as far as how the records, they're just jammed up against one another like in an elevator, and they're so closely. And you saw with the Lakers and Minnesota, there's only 1 game difference,
right?
Between
a team that didn't make it, they lost in it with Anthony Davis, Dallas Mavericks. But let's say a Dallas Mavericks with a healthy Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, if they had Kyrie,
what would that be? They might have been about force. So I don't know.
Kyrie not blown out the ACL.
Oh, yeah.
And Davis was, say, healthy. But if you had healthy Kyrie and, say, Davis, they could have made some impact in that Western Conference.
There would have been a sneaky team. That would have been another team. We'd have been like, we got to better watch them.
Right.
Because
Kyrie gives them a whole dimension that they did not have.
Right.
And if you had Kyrie on that team healthy playing with Davis, that could have been a team that could have surprised.
Yep, I really think so because they got a lot of veterans on the team that fills in perfectly. So, I mean, it's that West is that's a loaded thing there.
That's tough. So, it's people think, well, that's a 3 and a 6. Yeah, but there's only 1 game difference between the Lakers and Timber. And let's face it, the Timberwolves are younger. They have the size.
Oh, yeah, they definitely have that size, and they're younger.
You're
correct on both of those points.
And, you got Conley, and you've got the way that team is put together. They got a lot of size.
Mm-hmm.
And Julius Randle played good, very good. DiVincenzo, both 2 ex-Knicks, came over and really made Minnesota a tough team. And they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. Obviously they wait the Golden State Houston winner. And I won't be surprised Minnesota could get into another conference final. They might get into the finals.
Right.
People are thinking, well, they should be I guess, with Oklahoma City, everybody seems to think they are the best team, not only in West, but overall.
Yeah.
But you got to play the games.
Got to play the game and see.
And you'll see.
I just like all those young teams. I like Oklahoma the way they play, and I like this Houston Rockets team.
Yeah, Houston Rockets.
Those guys young, and you got the perfect guy and
the coach.
Van Fleet. The coach is good.
Yeah.
And you got that veteran Van Fleet.
Yeah, Van Fleet.
Doesn't crumble under pressure. He already knows what it is to beat Golden State because they did for the championship with Kyrie. With Kawhi back then. So, he's a guy that knows what to do. And in big moments, he was playing great.
No, I played it fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that 7th game.
Yeah.
Too. And this Clippers game. Because that's been a series. Boy,
the Clippers in Denver, that's just been mono and mono.
Yeah, it's been
back
good.
and forth.
We said with the NBA playoffs would be good, and they are.
Yeah, these ended up,
Yeah, they ended up pretty great.
Saturday morning sports page. First quarter in the books. Western Reserve Radio back after a quick timeout.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hiya, Queen of All Knowledge here, reminding you, creeps out there on the internet hack, scam, and trick savvy cyber users every day, but we can fight back. It's as easy as IC3. If you're a victim of online crime, don't give up. Visit IC3, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. Your tips help the FBI track down cyber criminals around the world. Report your crime to www.ic3.gov today.
Saturday morning sports page. 330-707-4202. Happy birthday, Mark Means.
Yeah. Yep.
We're going to make him, let's see, 29. Is that, yeah.
Mark Means, I hope you're listening.
I think that might be I don't want to make him too, I think that might be the 5-0.
Yeah, you're right.
I think it's his 5-0.
Oh, it's not no think, it is.
It is.
I shouldn't be laughing. I'm sorry, but everybody laughed at me when that time came.
Right.
Many moons ago.
That's right. Well, that's what I mean. Problem is that's many. Right.
Yeah. How you like that, Mark?
1975, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, there you go, Mark Means.
Mark Means.
Yep.
Special birthday greeting.
The birthday greetings. Works for that other station. The one that Carl Bloom built.
Right.
According to the liner on the one station many years ago. I digress.
Mm-hmm.
NBA obviously heating up. Great games. Great series. Talked a lot about the Lakers. What are they going to do roster construction wise? Mm-hmm. They got to make some moves. Again, LeBron's coming up on his contract. Will he opt out and be a free agent, or does he stay in LA and play for $52 million?
Right.
And then Luka, I mean, I guess the Lakers have him for one more year. And then I guess, isn't this usually the time with the cup players? Like they have to figure out if they want to extend Luka. Like that's why Dallas did not want to keep him. is because if they extended him, they would have had like extend him because if that was the team, the original team, they would have had to give him like $370 million. Now with the Lakers, they wouldn't give him that much money. But the Lakers have to decide what they're going to do with Luka. Are they going to extend him or they trade him?
Yeah, well, that's I was just going to say. If you find it, you look on the internet, they was talking about matchup type of things if they had to trade him. And the one trade they said could happen is because of the contracts is trading him to the Timberwolves for Julius Randle and Naz Reid. And they said it would match because all those guys are up for contract.
Right.
Naz Reid has been a sixth man.
You see,
but he really could be a starter without a question. So if he came to the Lakers, he would be a starter. Julius Randle could be also because you could play him and LeBron in there at the same time. So is it a possibility that happens? It just makes me wonder, well, you're doing all that. Why did you get rid of Anthony Davis? But then again, I don't know if they was getting tired of hearing Anthony Davis say, I want to play my natural position. But he was right. If he plays his natural position with a center in there, he's effective anyway, but he is super effective because nobody can match up with him. But I sometimes I wonder, I say, okay, they traded for him to Lakers, so that's your future. But my problem was he's hurt a lot. He never looks in great shape. So do you put all your eggs in the basket and say, let's build around Luka when Luka might not be there because he's injured or he's not in shape? And when you're not in shape, you do get injured.
And therein lies the problem right there. The problem is it's kind of the chicken and the egg is if you think about it.
Well, they're in a major dilemma. People might think, well, you got Luka, no, they're still in a dilemma. Because you got a guy that's going to turn 41. He's definitely been playing at the top. And I'm going to always give him his kudos. He's playing at the top. But you got to make a decision on what you're going to do with this team. Do you put it in Doncic as your guy going forward?
Do you feel comfortable building around him? After the playoff this past year, you're going to have him one more year. But then this is the year you usually have to extend him. Because if you don't extend him, then he can opt out after next year. LeBron can opt out this year. Luka can opt out after next year's contract. Right. So they usually have to, obviously, then they have to, I guess the Lakers have to decide roster construction. You don't have the big man. Jackson Hayes is not even going to be on the team next year. His contract is up. Maybe they extend him. I doubt it. They won't play him. That sends a message that someone else will probably pick him up and use him. So the Lakers are kind of coming into this kind of fork in the road. As Yogi Berra would say, you come to the fork in the road, take it. Well, the Lakers have to take the fork, and what are they going to do here? LeBron can opt in or opt out. They can lose LeBron or extend him another year. But then you've got to really decide if you're the Lakers, you look at Luka, you will have to decide sometime next year, do we extend him out or do we let him play out a year? Then he can leave. Mm-hmm. Now usually that's what they do. Because these guys are funny. They expect the contract extension, and if they don't get it, then they'll opt out and leave. They'll say, well, you don't want me, I can opt out and leave. Mm-hmm. So Luka could potentially opt out and leave after next year. LeBron can opt out and leave now.
Yeah.
Both these guys could be,
we'll find out what's going to happen.
And then if you're the Lakers, if LeBron leaves, you'll look at Luka and say, okay, the criticisms is out of shape, doesn't play, gets hurt. But when you're out of shape, you get hurt.
Yeah.
But he's a great player, but he doesn't play any defense at all.
No.
Doesn't play any defense.
No. And sometimes he tries, but he's more of a handsy type of guy. He can pickpocket you sometimes.
A little bit.
But, come over and double. But he's not a guy that he can just, hey, you got to pick that guy up. You got him. That's not his game. You almost got to hide him. You got to almost hide him.
You have to hide him. Charles says he can't guard a chair. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So the thing you have there, the Lakers are kind of coming up to the fork in the road with obviously interesting to see what LeBron does, but LeBron doesn't have that much tread left on the tires. What does he play? Maybe 2 more years, maybe a year, 2, maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
I don't even want to say anything because
he might
shocked
not
me to be doing what he's doing now. You know, what I see. So, I mean,
or does
he can't be a guy that you keep playing 40 minutes.
No.
You can't do that. You need to cut that down. Let him be real efficient. Maybe 30-something minutes a game. He's got to be with a team like that that has that firepower there. They can spread that out.
That they could spread it out.
Yeah, don't
put it all on his shoulders.
And a lot of times in the Lakers games, he's played 40.
No, he's carrying the team,
and that's crazy at 40 years old that you out here having to carry the team. So, that's insane. So I don't know where this guy ends up, or does he stay in Los Angeles and just go in the other locker room? Well, it's not the other locker room now. They got their own, the Clippers. What if he went to the
Clippers are gone. Yeah. Does he go? Does he go across town? Or I guess I don't know how far the arenas are. I mean, I don't think they're too far away.
No, they're probably not too far away from each other. I mean, and they probably could do it. Because when you think about it, it's Kawhi and it's Harden. And then when you look at big contracts on that team, I don't think it's anybody else. And for many seasons, they went with George and had 3 guys all the time. Now somebody might be heading to a big contract or be getting a new contract, and you want to
right now
around.
They have Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard's going to get $50 million next year and $50 million the following year. He's there.
Right.
He's not going. James Harden, and then I'm going to go back to the Minnesota Timberwolves for a minute, but let's look at the Clippers. James Harden can opt out after this year. Mm-hmm. He's got a $36 million opt-in contract next year. So Harden can opt out and become a free agent, or he can opt in and stay there. Mm-hmm. He makes $33 million and $6 and change this year. $36 million is on the table if he wants it next year, or he could says no. The free agent landscape could be really interesting next year because you could actually have LeBron James and James Harden, and I'll go look at some of the other ones potentially being free agents if they decide to opt out of their contracts, which they can do. Then if you look at the rest of the Laker landscape team, all right, then Norman Powell is 19 this year, 20, he's there. What's his name? Bogdanovich is there for at least this year and next year. And then the team has an option for the following year after that. So and then Zubac is there for 4 years this year and then 3 more. So he's there. Derek Jones is there 3 years. So if you break down the Clippers, they actually, depending on what Harden does, what they decide with him, they could actually, they have $174 million slated for next year, unless Harden staying. But if James Harden decides to leave, it's $36 million, $174 million less 36. Mm-hmm. That would be, fast math. That's like 138. Bottom line is now they can have flexibility of then to your point, do they go after LeBron and switch LeBron out for Harden if they decide to opt out? Could that happen?
Yeah, I mean, that it could. And when you did mention the Timberwolves, that's another team that if they lose Randall or any of those people, could LeBron be over there? I mean, it's so many.
Yeah, the way the Clippers are, let's get to the Timberwolves. Gobert's there at least for this year, and then 2 more years after this, then he's up to the opt-out. Gobert can opt out in 27, 28. He's there. Anthony Edwards is there through 28, 29. He's slated. Right. He's not going anywhere. Randall is the one who can opt out after this year. He's got $30 million to opt into or go out, so he can leave. Jaden McDaniels is there with Anthony Edwards. They're kind of joined at the hip. Okay. They're there for the same time frame. So Jaden McDaniels is there with Edwards. After that, now Naz Reid is the one where he can opt out. He's got $15 million, or he can opt out. So that's a player they've got to look at. And then DiVincenzo is there for 2 more years after this year. So he's not going anywhere. Then Mike Conley is actually there for another year, $10 million next year, which they'll want to keep him.
Yeah. DiVincenzo, I hate to even hear his name because I wish he was still at the Knicks.
Me too.
I just liked him at the Knicks. I like the Villanova Knicks.
No, I think the Knicks are not the same team. The Knicks traded DiVincenzo and Randall for Towns, and I'm sorry, they just don't seem as good as they were last year, and they're not going to beat the Celtics this year. I mean, that's who they start, and I give it 5 games maybe.
Yeah.
Knicks, if the Knicks game, maybe on the outside, the Knicks get like 6 games. Like if the Knicks can extend that series to 6 games with the Celtics, that's doing something. I don't see it.
Yeah, if they can, as long as the Celtics can be scoring it with those 3-pointers, it's going to be hard too. But if they can get them where they are not having some issues scoring from 3-point land,
they have a shot.
They got a shot.
Yeah, we've seen that with the Celtics before.
Yeah, and they just so hardcore, the Knicks. I got to give it to them playing with what they have. They play very hard, and so he definitely gets that out of them.
No, he does.
They play hard. But they need just a couple. Something
need
else.
Another.
It wouldn't be just Stevenson. I just like him at the Knicks, but they need something else.
Right.
And like I said, maybe that is KD. Is he that other guy next year? So
KD is right, and that's the other potential player that could maybe go to the Knicks. At least they talk a lot about that. But the way that the Minnesota Timberwolves are slated, they have, depending how far they go, which they may, I don't rule out the Timberwolves getting into the finals. I mean, this team can end up, they could win a title the way they're structured. They'll make a decision on Naz Reid and Randall. I think Naz Reid to me is like, well, let's see. He's only, when you look at the age, he'll be 26 years old in August.
Yeah.
So he's young.
Right.
I think you want to, if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, you want to extend him.
Yeah, you want to keep him.
You got to keep him. You got to figure out a contract extension.
Because he's only getting $15 million.
And he's only getting, yeah, next year, he's only 13. He's making about $14 million this year. He makes $15 million next year, but that's the opt-in contract.
Right,
so they have
can he go somewhere else and make more?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's what I'm saying. He may opt out because
if he opts out, he's a free agent,
and somebody can have him as a starting center, or power forward. Either one, he could play either one.
But he could play either one, and if you're he's like 6'9". Yeah, he's a player.
Yeah,
he's a clutch player, makes big shots, 3-pointers. I mean, I watch him play and I go, man, this guy comes in and he makes things happen. And you're the Timberwolves. I think depending on where this team goes, you ultimately got to figure maybe we need to keep him. We can't let him go because he will be, I think, a sought after free agent if he hits the free agent market.
Yes.
So, I mean, like I said, when you break this down, the free agent market could be real interesting. You have Harden, LeBron, Naz Reid, Julius Randle another one with the opt-in or opt-out. Randle can opt in for his $30 million or hair under $31 million, or he can opt out and he's an unrestricted free agent.
Right.
Only thing is Julius Randle is basically 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be 31 in November. So Randle's another potential free agent. So if you're the Timberwolves, you got 2 big decisions to decide. I think that Naz Reid 1 and then Julius Randle 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, like I said, you break this down, it can get real interesting where these players end up. And LeBron could end up leaving LA, but then LA's got to they're in a box because then they have to decide, and they're back where Dallas was. Dallas was having that decision. Do we extend out Luka or do we let him go? And they traded him because they didn't want to extend him out.
Right.
And then after you saw the way they played in the first round, and here's the thing you got to realize. You win 50 games in the regular season in a very competitive West, but when you get bounced out in the first round, your season is not a success.
Right.
Like, you don't look at the Lakers and say, yeah, they had a good season. No, they did not. Because in the NBA, I know the regular season, and we've talked about it all the time, the regular season is kind of worthless. It's useless if you play and win 50 games, but you get bounced out in the first round. That's not a good season. Right. You're not going to look back at this Lakers. Yeah, that was a real, we remember that season. No, you want to forget it. But then what this has opened up the door to, if you're the Lakers, is do you really want to put all your eggs in the Luka basket? The Dallas evidently didn't want to put all their eggs in Luka's basket, give him all that money. They traded him to LA. And granted, the GM has been scorned and criticized, and he's got to be relieved because he looks back and say, now you see, I might have had that right.
Mm-hmm. Even though I actually think it wasn't his decision. I really think it was the new owner.
Yeah, I think the new owner.
Yeah, the new owner did not believe in Luka as the guy with all his eggs in the basket.
The new owner,
yep,
who's got the purse strings. Let's call it for what it is.
I think
they got all the money. They made the decision to say, you know what? We watch Luka. We think he's a good player, but he doesn't play defense. He's out of shape. He can score. But you know what? We don't feel comfortable extending him to $370 million. Yep. Let's trade him. The only thing is the criticism is you should have maybe got Austin Reeves. But after you watched Austin Reeves not play defense, you're like, did you really want him either? So you're almost to the point where Dallas now all of a sudden looks like, maybe they didn't do too bad on that deal trading Luka, because Luka looked really bad again. For a son, he didn't play all that good against Minnesota, and you went home.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're faced with the old fork in the road. Do you still feel comfortable extending out Luka, because you're going to ultimately have to extend him this year, or he plays the year and then opts out? LeBron is in the opt-out clause right now.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I said. They got some issues, and we're going to see what happens when the dust, as they say, clears.
Yeah, when the dust clears, we'll have and Pelinka, who was only the GM of the year, the NBA GM of the year. They gave him that award. Yeah. I thought they gave him. Yeah,
I think they did.
They did. He got the NBA GM of the year, and they get bounced out of the first round.
Yeah.
The problem you have, it's like if the New York Knicks lost to Detroit, Thibodeau probably loses his job. Yeah. Good possibility. I know that sounds terrible because everybody loves Tibbs, but if the Knicks won 50 games and bounced out if they would have got bounced out by Detroit in the first round, Thibodeau, I think there's a better than 50% chance they fire him. Because they win 50 games, you don't want to lose the first round of the playoffs,
right?
Because that's not a good season. I'm sorry, you just like I said, when we won 50 games, but you went home. That's not good. The Lakers are faced that. Now, granted, Redick's not going anywhere; he'll stay, but they have to figure out the roster reconstruction in LA. And like you said, potentially looking at Naz Reid, if he opts out, can you get him as a free agent? I don't know if they bring back Julius Randle. I think he wasn't on the Lakers at one time.
Yeah.
So do they potentially bring him back? He's another potential free agent if he opts out. So the free agent market could be interesting. If you are the Lakers, you said it, do you go after Julius Randle and Naz Reid and then tell LeBron, go ahead and go? And you roll into Luka. You go have Luka, Naz Reid, and Julius Randle on your team. But then you got to find a center because that still doesn't address that either.
No.
And they have to figure that out.
Naz Reid can play it,
Right, like he can, but you still need
another big physical.
Right.
They have to just address it as far as depth. They didn't even have no depth at all.
None. No, he had none.
That's why LeBron was playing center.
Right, LeBron played center. The team the team is a train wreck with the roster construction. And it's not a good season. You don't dump, man. You can't lose out in the first. Again, I've said it 100 times, but you can't lose out, especially you lose to the Timberwolves in 5 games.
Yeah.
And Minnesota tried to give you the 5th game, and you couldn't take it because they couldn't throw the ball in the Pacific Ocean from the 3-point, but they kept heaving it up. But the Lakers couldn't cash in on that.
Yeah, no. Yep. So we'll see.
So
We're going to find out.
I don't think there's a lot of fans in Lakerland that are very happy.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure they're not. So they got to get it. That's the one thing, the NBA season turns around quick, because once we get into football during the summertime, and it shoots by so fast, it's fall. And when we get to fall to start the NFL season, the NBA preseason is just about ready to kick off. A lot of stuff, a lot of action to be going on in there. Next thing you know, it's the NBA season. So they got to kick this thing around soon. Get it going, because it'll be here before you know it.
Rob Pelinka was the executive coach of the year. I'm sorry, executive of the year.
Yeah.
Executive of the year is the Rob Lowe lookalike. They keep saying he looks like Rob Lowe, the actor. But anyway, that all aside, next year in the NBA will be the off season.
It'll be interesting.
We'll be having very interesting conversations with how this roster construction and where these players potentially, if they are, and usually those guys do opt out.
Yeah.
I mean, or they sign a new contract, like Julius Randle, Naz Reid probably opt out. Maybe, though, maybe Minnesota tries to keep them.
Yeah. We go. I mean,
especially if Minnesota gets to a conference final or gets into the NBA finals, I think they want to try to keep
that going.
And extend out Randall and even extend out Naz Reid.
Yep.
You got Anthony Edwards, who's the star, and he's going to be there, and you've built the team around him. So, but I think you got it. And Naz Reid, to me, is the clutch guy.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in and makes that 3-pointer from top of the key.
Well, we'd be knowing a lot in the middle of the summer. When July come, we'll be finding out things. Through those months, they'll start shaping that NBA rosters and free agency and everything else. So that's one thing. It gets going in this next month or so. As we said, you get the NFL season going. What is it? The WNBA start.
Yeah.
And I want to definitely shout out for a relative who's drafted in the second round, Michaela Timpson, who would have been a Boardman High School if she would have stayed here.
Right.
She would have been playing for Boardman High School, but they moved to Florida, and she got drafted by the Indiana Fever.
Okay.
In the second round out of Florida State. So
there you go.
That's my second cousin.
That's your second cousin.
Yeah,
wow.
So we're looking to see. Hopefully, she makes the team, and be there for this upcoming season. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's like I said, the season coming up. WNBA's got a lot more interest and a lot more people eyes on the set.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's starting to at least gain some popularity.
And one thing,
it's good.
I haven't had a chance to talk to her yet, but I know my oldest brother did, and just told her she's gonna a lot of cameras. You make that team, a lot of cameras going to be on your team, because that's where Clark is at the Indiana Fever.
Yeah,
that's where she's at with them. So
she's going to get a lot
with Caitlin Clark.
Clark there, because Caitlin Clark's generating the ratings.
Yeah,
and people are going to be watching Indiana Fever.
They'll be on a lot.
They'll be on a lot. You're going to see a lot of the Indiana Fever with
you
WNBA.
See them in Las Vegas. They're on all the time.
Yeah, they're on time.
Asia Wilson. So you see both of those teams.
You're going
to and then who's that? It's just getting popularity all over, because the page was that Bucher from UConn.
Yeah.
And she's at Dallas. So it's just spreading all over now.
Yeah, that's right. She was the number one pick. Paige, was it Buchers?
Buchers, yeah.
Yeah, Buchers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she was number one pick overall.
Right. So
we're coming up on the break, and we'll talk NBA draft We're going to get to the quarterbacks taken. And Dave Clark, do you really think that the NFL has been clueless for 50 years because Mel Kiper said that?
No, but his
That's
frustration, he just took it to another limit. But this week I did go on a local podcast, and it was very interesting. That would be the least.
Sure. We will be back after this second half of the show. Quick timeout. Western Reserve Radio.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem Sports Talk is on the iMedia1 Network, Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football, or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football.
Saturday morning sports page, second half of the show. 330-707-4202. Happy birthday, Mark Means. Get that out again. Turn the 5-0.
Yep.
Good. Good for you, Mark. So Dave Clark, Mel Kiper. Let's get to the NFL draft. Let's talk about Shador.
Mel Kiper. He lost.
Oh, Mel's great.
Even Louis Riddick had to go at him a little bit.
Yeah, Louis tried to reel him in a little.
Did you see that? He was going at it.
Yeah.
He was going at it with him.
Got to go a little, take it down a notch there. Well, but it's good. It's all good for TV.
Yeah.
I mean,
that part is for sure. And I understood his frustration, what he's saying, but you don't even criticize the NFL. They haven't gotten it right. Well, nobody's gotten it right. Nobody's really ever gotten everything right.
But he said they're totally clueless for 50 years.
Well, see now that he went on the deep end.
Yeah,
you just can't do that. And then if you want to say they're clueless, you can't just say NFL. It's always going to be somebody clueless every season. A team, you look at it and say, what the heck are they doing every year?
Mel Kiper said like Jamarcus Russell was going to be a great quarterback, and he was not.
Right.
And here's the problem with the draft and with these players? Nobody knows. Like, we could talk about, I could bring up the draft grades for each team. I mean, it's great conversation, probably good radio, but at the end of the day, it means zero because nobody knows. Nobody knows what any of these guys are going to do. I'm sorry. It's like you can't predict the future. You can't predict who's going to win. You can't predict how successful any of these guys are going to be. Guy could be he's definitely going to be a Hall of Fame. No, he could get hurt, get injured, get on the wrong team with the wrong scheme. Coach gets fired, gets another offensive coordinator. A player gets hurt, a tight end gets hurt. The scheme now is different. He doesn't adjust to the scheme. I could rattle off 100 reasons why somebody could fail. They can't adjust to the speed of the game, which is always the one you hear all the time. Mm-hmm. The players always talk about that is, God, I just can't remember, college. I mean, I heard Brady Quinn talk about it yesterday, on the show with LeVar and Jonas Knox, that Two Pros and a Cup of Joe. He goes, the speed of the game, it's totally different. The NFL is not, and college are totally different. Mm-hmm. It's just, we talk about it all the time. Dave Clark, you played at the USL. You see the difference in that. Yeah. But the speed, and you don't have a room for error in the NFL. Like college, you just don't have some of the cornerbacks. You get in certain leagues, they don't have the defenses. The NFL,
and what it is,
they're all good.
In the college, you have a guy that he might have blazing speed, but he hasn't developed the instincts and different things like that. So that passing window is real small in the NFL because the guys not only got the ability, the agility, and speed, that they even got the knowledge. So now it's a big difference. Whereas in college, you got an 18-year-old, 19-year-old hasn't developed all the way yet. Has all the athletic skills, hasn't developed. He might be late on a read, doesn't get to his position on time. And you look great against them. Then you go in the NFL, these guys are on point. That window is very small, and you see all of a sudden things close down quickly. So it's hard to the speed of the game. Guys are up on you. I think about it from junior college to move up to Division II and play at Cheney State to the USFL. When a defensive back come up, I will come up to fill the area, and I can get up in there fast. But when I went to those different levels, all of a sudden those offensive linemen got there a little bit faster than they did back when I was in junior college. I was up in there. I thought I could use the same thing. I couldn't do that. And they came up there with a little bit different attitude, speed, and strength. So, I had to use different knowledge. Go real low, take their knees out. I got to do all kind of different things to have strategy, or you don't play too long. No. So, I mean, these guys, it's a difference each time you move up. So we don't know what they're going to do. So, I mean, he just took it to I don't know what kind of level he took it to. I couldn't believe he just going on and on. Mel, this is what I looked at. Like I told you, I was on a local podcast here. And it just was just crazy how they just came at me, asked a question. You played football, and then as soon as they asked me about Shador, the first thing they got to come out of their mouth, don't come up with the race card. And say, what? Now, and then when they said that, I said, I'm going to address that right away. I said, does race play a part of some of it? Yeah. Then I said, I didn't say that was the main. No. I said, it plays a part. I said, but it's not the main thing. It's not the main thing. It's a conglomerate of many things. I said, now, him acting a certain way, if he had this arrogance and stuff, or whatever they want to call it, I said, some people call it arrogance.
Entitlement.
Yeah, or entitlement.
The word that I kept hearing, it seemed, was he came off as being entitled.
Right.
Then there's this thing about the Giants giving him that problem to work out or come prepared like they always do, and he didn't do it. Right. And Dable got on him and said, we told
he didn't
you
like that. Getting on him.
And then Shador got on Dable, like, what are you getting on my case for? And Dable was like, hey, I gave you something to do, and you did. I'm paraphrasing all of the speculation is what this is.
And
allegedly this is what occurred.
Well, I think some of it did because Shador said, I wish I could take back some of the things in the way I acted. And so I believe that happened. But I started bringing up things on that podcast. I said, before I came on here, I made sure to do some homework. I said, so let's go to a few things. And I said, now that's a problem. He's acting like that.
But he didn't go to the combine either, did he?
Yeah, he went to it. He didn't.
But he didn't
participate.
He didn't participate.
Right. He didn't participate.
Right.
So that's we started talking about that. You got to do some of those things, but he did participate in the interviews and different things of that nature. So that's what if you don't do any of the drills, there's a lot of athletes that go all the time and don't do them. They just wait until their pro day.
Right.
Because it's set up more for them. So they don't have to go to the combine and actually do that. But they should do all the interviews.
Right.
So they started to go back to, okay. So that hurt him, they say. That made him fall in the draft. Well, my thing was I'm going to bring up a couple people. We want to talk about arrogance or confidence, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it arrogance or entitled. I'm going to go to two people. Baker Mayfield, and we're going to go to Johnny Manziel.
Right.
I'll go Johnny Manziel first. Manziel didn't go to certain teams and even do the interview. I'm not going. I'm not even going to talk to none of you guys. And he just blew them off. Cleveland did a good researching on Johnny Manziel.
Not good enough.
Yeah, well, they knew about this. I'm talking when I say this is the thing, they did it.
Yeah.
He had all these things that was going on.
Right.
Partying.
Yeah. And they
drinking.
knew that. You see, that's what cracked.
And that's the problem. How did you know that? You know that he doesn't even do the game plans on certain games. He don't even do it. Just don't even study it.
No.
And you know this is his format. And he's still a first round draft.
Well, because you know why? Because you have an owner that's not real bright.
Yeah, well, regardless what it is,
but
I'm not going to blame it on anything else. I'm just saying, how do we end?
Dallas, Jerry, all those owners fall in love with these guys. Jerry Jones was going to draft him. The son, Stephen Jones, stepped in and stopped him.
That's absolutely right. I brought that up.
Stephen Jones knew he was he had off-field issues that were really bad. It was like the same. I mean, they know these guys off-field issues, and they make a decision, and we always say, the benefits, liabilities, and if they think the guy can make all the throws and he's throws the ball, a big stud down the field, it's like it's the sheet. The liability benefits. If the benefits outweigh the liabilities, you probably lean on taking them. But if it's an even thing and you think the guy's kind of a problem, then you think maybe we don't take him. Yeah. So I think.
Well, see, but that's like those you brought up was good points. But this is the thing I'm wondering.
Right.
They found things with Baker Mayfield in his arrogance and different things he did that the team started thinking about drafting Josh Allen, but no, we can't draft Josh Allen because he's inaccurate.
Right. He doesn't have that.
This, that, and the other. And he really didn't have any other off-field
No, he had
problems.
none. He didn't really have anything off.
But they don't draft him.
But they don't.
Okay, so what is that all about? So that's an entitlement right there of allowing him to be there. Another guy, Ryan Leaf.
Yeah.
Went and checked on this stuff. Here's another guy. I'm not throwing at the combine. Nope. I ain't doing none of that stuff. Told somebody, blew off a person that might be between the Colts and them and Chargers, I think it was.
Chargers.
Who's going to draft him? He blew off a couple people with the Colts. They did not draft him. Anyway, but the thing about it is these guys coming here, why wouldn't that cause them to drop? But it didn't. So, I mean, some things you got to look at and know that there is some, I think there was teaching a lesson. Like, you're not going to control anything.
I think there was some of that.
I don't like Dion. I think some of that.
I think there was a play on that.
Yeah, I definitely. Nobody can tell me any different. That's why I said all those little factors is in there. Because some people can get away with doing this stuff.
And he did have limitations as a quarterback, too, and this wasn't a great quarterback draft either.
But see, that's another thing I was upset about. They say it's not a good quarterback draft.
No one knows.
The number one pick was Cam Ward, and he got ripped to saying, look, that tells you how bad the draft is. He didn't get any offers when he was in high school. What that got to do with anything?
No.
Person can progress and get better and better and better. Don't put the guy down when he doesn't get it. But that you're saying that's a bad draft class.
Yeah.
Well, just let him drop then.
Yeah, let him drop.
Let him drop, but he didn't.
No.
See,
I mean,
so
Bobby Beathard might have.
Then you said at the beginning just now, you said this is a bad class. How do we know it's bad?
Rated to it's
according to them.
According to them.
So if we say we go by their ratings,
it's their ratings, right?
Right. Well, see, this is my problem.
Which is never, that's not 100% right either.
Right. But I'm talking about we're not going by the mock. I ain't talking about mock. I'm talking about NFL personnel all rated him to be either first.
Yeah, they had him
second round.
They all had him right. They had him They had him either first. Let's hit the phones.
Yeah, you can't drop the fifth just on that.
You're on the sports page. What's up?
Good morning, Pat. Good morning, Dave. How you guys doing?
Hey, good, Irish Spike. What's up?
Doing well. Hey, a lot of we talk about bad contracts all the time, and organizations who give out bad contracts. Well, obviously a lot's been made about Deshaun Watson the last several years with the Browns, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But, mine's the Cleveland Guardians. I don't follow Major League Baseball as much as a lot of other people do. But let me tell you guys this. Mike Trout of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and he probably makes $30-35 million a year. That guy is always hurt.
Yeah.
I just saw his name come across the scroll on ESPN, I think Thursday or Friday. He's going to be out for the next 2 or 3 weeks or so. And I'm thinking to myself, now there's an organization that gave a guy a lot of money 3 or 4 years ago, and he is constantly hurt, constantly on the IR, missing, months and months and months at a time. I'm thinking, no one ever talks about stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's the Deshaun Watsons. It's the Angels, I think, signed somebody 3 years ago from the Washington Nationals, a big free agent signing. And the guy's gone out in LA and done absolutely nothing for them. So I just get a kick out of, sometimes in sports, we focus on certain organizations and certain players, and other players get a pass as far as, making big money and no one talking about the fact that they never play.
Well, because first of all, the other reason why no one talks about him is look where he's playing. He's playing
not with the Dodgers, he's with the Angels.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
And it's the Angels are pretty much a forgotten and always have kind of been a forgotten team out there.
They're always like the Clippers, right?
Yeah. And that's the other problem is, he signed
like the Brooklyn Nets compared to the Knicks, right?
Yeah.
I think we all do that mentally.
Right. You all do it. I mean, even when the Brooklyn Nets had Kyrie and Durant, people, they're going to be, nobody cared in New York because it's the Knicks. The New York Knicks are the team. Brooklyn Nets are that's the stepchild, if you want to refer to them, but they're just like the other team that no one cares about. It's like, to some degree, the Yankees and the Mets, but the Mets are a little bit closer to the Yankees in popularity. The Nets are probably the farthest. So if you start bringing up these markets with the other teams, I would say the Angels and the Nets are probably the farthest from their rival as far as popularity. They're low on the list. And Mike Trout, it's a typical baseball contract. Let's give the guy 12 years, $426 million is what they gave him. He makes 30, and he's always hurt. He's making $37 million a year, and he never plays. And the sad part is, you think, okay, but it's like the Yankees and John Carlos Stanton. He's another one. He's hurt again this year. Same thing, but only people know more about John Carlo because he's sitting in New York. Yeah.
Correct.
What's his face?
I told my buddy Pat, the Guardians played the Angels, I think the second we opened the year in Kansas City, and then we played the LA Angels out in LA. The first week of the season. I said, that stinks. And he said, why? I said, because Mike Trout's going to be able to play. He's healthy. I mean, he got all winter to get healthy. I said, you want to play them in May or June when he gets hurt. And sure enough, I saw again, he's not available because they played the Tigers last night. I was on the box score and he's not available for the next month.
Well, here's your other problem you have with this contract. He's 33 years old, making $37 million. They have to pay him $37 million till 38. So they have 5 more years after this year paying him $37 million. And here's a guy who's
contract that nobody wants because they like Mike Trout, the player, but they know he's always hurt.
It's the same thing with Giancarlo Stanton. The Yankees can't give him away because if you give him away, they want you to pay the bulk of the contract. And yet the only way they could trade Mike with Trout is they can trade him, but they have to pay, say, 70% of the contract. So I'll take Mike Trout. You guys pay 70% of what you have, and then we'll pay the difference. They go, well, no, I mean, we're going to pay this guy $20 million, and he's not playing, and you're going to pay him $15 million, and that's okay. No. But these guys
you remember Dave Clark last year? The Baltimore Ravens did something unique. I know you follow these contracts a little bit. With left tackle Ronnie Stanley. And they put a clause in his contract saying, like, basically a polite way, the last 2 or 3 years you've been hurt way too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, without saying that, that's what they were saying. Like, you always have a pulled hamstring or a calf. There's always something going on, and we're only going to pay you X amount of dollars based upon how many games you play.
Yeah.
And guess what? Ronnie Stanley played every game last year.
Yeah, he did. He made it through it.
And I thought that was a great contract for the Ravens front office. I think more sports teams
would motivate him too. Now, I will say, I think his last 2 injuries, they were legit. I mean, he tore some stuff, but he used to have a lot of stuff like out for 3 to 4 weeks with a hamstring, a shoulder for 2 weeks. I think that was nice they put that in contract because then that made him think, hey, let me check my nutrition, let me check my training regimen, and got better shape. And all of a sudden he had a healthy season. Then didn't he get another contract this year or extension?
Yes, correct. Yes, and he had a great year in 2024.
Yeah,
a great year.
Yep, and they need him.
Games, what, Pro Bowl, whatever you call it. But you know, if you guys, the Lakers head coach or GM came out the other day and made mention of the fact that Lou, without saying, you know, that obviously the Mavericks talked about it, Pat, for weeks and weeks and weeks after the trade. You came on your show one time. Stop talking about it. You traded him, okay? We know that you feel like he's not in shape and he's not taking his nutrition and dieting and weightlifting off season seriously. And the Mavericks talked about it for 2 months. But now the Lakers are talking about it as well, correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because you look at him, he looked like a guy he's just not in shape. I mean, he's always laboring on that court.
And that's her problem. The problem you ultimately have with him, with Luka. Now Dallas doesn't look so bad with trading him because look how bad he played in the series with Minnesota. And bottom line is, like I keep saying this, but that's a failure for a season. You don't you get bounced out of the first round like that, you had a bad season, man. It's and you got Luka and LeBron. They were at least with Luka and LeBron. Okay, maybe they weren't going to win an NBA title. I get it. But they should have at least gotten past maybe the first or into maybe the conference finals, or at least get by Minnesota to at least win a playoff series. Like the Knicks had to win a playoff series, I think, to keep Thibodeau's job. They needed to beat Detroit. No one is expecting them to beat Boston.
Yeah, I think also the Lakers, if they were thinking about making a move, they should have did that a lot earlier.
Yeah.
If this Luka they want, they should have did it a lot earlier because you didn't really give them a time to play together and gel.
But they did play well. They did have the team won.
Yeah, they won.
They did win their games. They had a good winning. They had a good record.
But they never looked to me where guys be like, you just know where you're going to be at. I know where you're going to be at. They just played off a great talent. And they won.
And that's the difference between the regular season and the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you are a team, that's why, but that's where you get exposed in the playoffs.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I don't think they would.
Exactly right.
They didn't have no continuity.
No.
Even though it looked good because they was winning.
Right.
But when I watched the games, I would watch and see that, it was almost like sometimes LeBron would stand and be watching to see what Luka's going to do or vice versa. Whereas guys just be flowing when they used to playing with certain people, Now I don't know how Jimmy Butler did it, But they did get him in a good time. But as soon as Butler came in, it seemed like 2 or 3 games into, you could see like he knew where Steph was going to be. Steph knew what he was going to do. And they played better together.
That was a different,
it's just,
you could make the argument that
But Luka came in injured. Remember, he didn't play right away.
No, he did not.
Didn't do that. So it was all kinds of stuff.
He was hurt when he came in.
Yeah.
He waited, then he played. Now, they did have a good record with Luka, why he was playing with LeBron, giving everybody hope that they would be pretty good and a potential move in the playoffs. It's just, but what happens in the playoffs, and that's why we focus.
And then
you get exposed. The roster construction now comes out. No center.
Yeah, because
no
you
bench.
didn't need it. You didn't need to do it in the regular season, but you needed that center then.
No bench.
Dwight Howard was right.
The one game was like game 6 or game 5. He played whatever it was. He played the same 5 guys the whole second half. He never subbed once.
No.
Think about that.
You can't do that.
No, you can't.
No.
Especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, what are you doing?
You've got to have a bench in the playoffs. I mean, I know you might shrink your bench a little bit, but you got to have guys to at least, especially when you have no center and you're getting abused by Rudy Gobert, and the size of the Minnesota Timberwolves just stood out, and the physicality of Minnesota was just overwhelming for the Lakers. They got out-rebounded. I forget what the number. They got at the game that Minnesota tried to give them to, and they couldn't take, but the Lakers got out-rebounded 54 to like 37.
Right. Well, I mean,
it just got.
I just don't understand them because they shut Dwight Howard down. Remember when he's playing in Japan or wherever? He kept, when the season over, he started talking about, hey, I want to come to the Lakers. They can sign me. I don't care what it is, just to help them through the playoffs. And they told him to go somewhere. Maybe go fly a kite. But you know what? You needed him, because when I think back to when they won in the bubble, why did they win? They had a Dwight Howard that gave Jokic so many problems. Right. You had McGee.
Yeah.
You had all these
size.
guys.
You had the size.
This time you don't have anybody with any size. And you're going to try to go in the playoffs and play that game. You can't do that. It wasn't going to be Luka shoot threes and all this other stuff going to win. It's not going to work. And it didn't.
When that game 5 breakdown against I know we talked about here's kind of the breakdown. Field goal percentage was close. Actually, the Lakers had better field goal percentage, 42.3 to 40.4 over Minnesota. Close, but the Lakers still shot it a little bit better. Here's a big difference. 3-point percentage. The Minnesota Timberwolves shot 14.9% from 3-point. Let's round it off to 15%. The Lakers were 29, say 30%, because 29.7. So the Lakers outshot them double in 3-point land. Mm-hmm. But here's the difference. Turnovers were Lakers 15, Minnesota 13. Call it a wash. Rebounds, 54, Minnesota 37, the Lakers.
And how many offense? That's what I like to. And how many offensive rebounds that Minnesota had?
Yeah.
That's seen second,
and Gobert had 20. Gobert had 9 offensive rebounds, 15 defensive, total 24.
Yeah. That's one guy. 9 offensive rebounds.
He had 9 offensive rebounds.
That's second chance points.
Yeah, and that's basically what it broke down to. That's right.
Just on him. 9 extra possessions.
You guys talk about success with the Lakers or lack thereof in the first round with Luka and LeBron. I mean, let's face it, Pat. I mean, there's probably no player in the NBA with more pressure in the second round than Donovan Mitchell, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, this is his 8th year in the NBA.
Yeah.
5 with Utah, now through with Cleveland. He's never made it past the second round of the NBA playoffs in his whole career.
Yeah, this is big.
Well,
you got to take Indiana out.
A lot of stats and a lot of numbers, Dave, but the fact is, at the end of the day, that your success of the team comes in April, May, and that's what people remember 10, 20, 30 years from now.
And that's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, the sad part with the NBA, the regular season really doesn't mean anything. Like the year that Golden State had the best record, set that best record, they lost to the Cavs in the finals. That's all you remember.
Yep.
You lost in the finals. You didn't get it done. That's any team. The year the Yankees
he's got a lot of pressure this round.
Sure.
I mean, they're going to be heavily favored to win, and they should win.
And they should. I mean, that team is playing. I mean, on all cylinders, and it's not just him. I mean, just all those guys.
They are on a roll. I mean, here's the other thing with the Cavs. I didn't think Miami, I know, had struggles, but come on. I mean,
Lucia, Miami Heat. You watched a professional team quit right in front of your eyes.
I know.
Let's be honest. They
did.
We all saw the same thing.
At first couple games, they gave it a shot,
and that was it. They just quit.
Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra have a lot of work to do.
They do
a lot of work
because I'll tell you what. Either the Cavs are just that good.
Yeah, they are that good, but I also think they quit for sure.
Think because they knew.
Yeah, they
basically,
got too many guys.
Miami looked at this and figured there is no way we have a chance against this team.
Quit.
And they did mail it in, especially that third and fourth game.
You better find out who's in who wants to be with this organization, who doesn't.
Yeah, you're right. Riley's got to figure this out.
Yep.
Hold on for a minute. That's the music. Third quarter, fourth quarter coming up. Saturday Morning Sports
Ina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard or call 234-254-8532.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio, take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
This is Jerry Snodgrass, Executive Director of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One of my long-standing goals is to help people understand that high school sports are about so much more than wins and losses. The OHSAA promotes education-based athletics, where sports are an extension of the classroom. Our schools all want to win. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, it's all about sportsmanship, leadership, and making certain that academics are a priority. Thank you for your support of high school sports in Ohio.
Yeah. Saturday Morning Sports Page back at you. It's good. Irish Mike.
Yes, I'm here, Pat.
All right. Yeah, we're there. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about Shedeur Sanders. You know, Dave was talking. I think this is an opportunity. I think Shedeur can be the starting quarterback this year because I don't think, to me, Flacco's there if somebody gets hurt or a bridge quarterback, but you've got, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur are going to, I think, fight it out. Kenny Pickett is a backup. Now, he might get the starting position if Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel maybe struggle, but this is an opportunity for Shedeur Sanders to come in and potentially be the starting quarterback this year for the Browns. We'll have to obviously wait and see what happens, but actually, it's a good spot for him to get traded to. Because get drafted by is because, if he were to get drafted by like the Raiders, he's sitting behind Geno Smith. He actually has the opportunity to grab the starting spot because he doesn't really have any competition that's going to potentially be better than him.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the 5 quarter, obviously, Deshaun Watson's going to be on the IR all year, so he's not going to play it down.
He's out.
Because of the injury. So then you got the 4 other quarterbacks, and I guess the problem becomes if you decide that you like Shedeur Sanders more than Dylan Gabriel, you took Gabriel in the third round. If you try to trade him, guys, you're not going to get a third rounder in back for him.
Right.
You probably get maybe 6th or 7th if you're lucky, right?
Well,
the Browns drafted them higher than other teams see Dylan Gabriel. Am I wrong?
Right. You're not wrong.
Right.
And that's the thing, as third rounder, that's why I was listening with Louis Riddick. He said when he was in front office, that's one thing. You're not going, if the guy can perform even a little bit, you're not cutting him.
No, you're not going to cut a third rounder.
Even if he couldn't start, you're not cutting him.
Unless you're Maurice Claret, but that's either.
But especially at the quarterback position.
Yeah, the quarterback.
So you keep him.
Yeah, the quarterback third round, you're going to keep.
He said he said you put Flacco as number 2 and let these guys fight it out. So he said, really, this is the best place for him because he gets a good opportunity to actually be the starter. And he could be. But if he doesn't, if things go awry, he said, then you got Flacco right there in your hip pocket to go ahead and start the season off. He really don't think Kenny Pickett is the guy. That's really, he said, I don't think I see. He said, I'm not going to say he's terrible, but he's a guy that I think you still could trade him and maybe get 7th round back.
And he's under the rookie contract, so Kenny Pickett's actually still under the rookie deal.
Yeah,
he could be at least, like you said, a trade chip. He could be.
Yep.
He's definitely tradable with the rookie contract,
or you just outright cut him. You can do that. You lost the 7th round for him, but you could just do that if you want to, and then go with the young guys in Flacco. He said, but Dylan Gabriel, he said, you got to look at it and say, like you said, Deshaun is out. Flacco and Gabriel, when you look at it, are in. So really the competition for that third quarterback is between Kenny Pickett and Shedeur Sanders. And he said, when you look at that, who would you pick? Would you take Kenny Pickett and what you've seen him do? Even though he had a decent little roundabout stuff with Philadelphia when he played, or would you take Shedeur and the younger guy that can continue learning and getting better? So he said he's in a good situation. He said he's sure Kenny Pickett probably don't like the things he's talking about, but that's what.
Well, they've already
really true.
Just for the record, with his contract, is Pickett gets his contract counts $2.6 million against the cap. Now the Browns have declined Kenny Pickett's 5th-year option because that would have paid him $22 million.
Right.
So they're not. No. They've declined that option. Kenny Pickett will be a free agent after this year.
Yeah, that's what I said. That gives them the option. If they want to cut him, they can.
They can cut him, and they're not going to get. And again, it's only $2.6 million on the cap. So
Yep.
I mean, that's nothing. But they also have the comfort if something happens, if someone gets injured, if Gabriel or Shedeur, somebody would get hurt, or Flacco gets hurt, you got Pickett there.
Yep.
To fill in, and you got him for 1 year. So he's a deal. Money-wise, he's not in a lot of money.
Right. Yep.
So you're all right there. Then the only question comes down, you got Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur. I don't think you're good. My take is, unless they play really bad in preseason, but I think they want to try to keep both Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel because of their contracts are really really friendly.
Really nice.
Really team friendly. You got a 3rd round and a 5th round guy. They're getting minimal money to play. So
and Eric Mangini, he hates Shedeur Sanders and thinks, he said, I thought he wouldn't get drafted. You should have heard him on
wow. He really thought Shedeur would not get drafted.
Yeah, him and what's the guy that does First Things First? The host. I can't think of his name right now.
Not Mike Greenberg.
Mm-mm.
No, okay.
First Things First. I can't.
Oh no, that's ESPN. Yeah, you're thinking. I know. You're thinking of FS or FS.
Yeah. Him and Roger. I forgot they was doing it.
Right.
To say I don't like him. He said, "Well, why wouldn't you like him?" He said, "Well, Dylan Gabriel's the better quarterback because they drafted him first." And he said, "That doesn't really mean nothing."
Doesn't really mean
anything. He said, and they brought up about Kirk Cousins and
Kirk Cousins,
RG3,
right?
He
That's
said
a good
eventually
one.
You wanted to start. They just seemed like they wanted to put Kirk Cousins in there. They started to like him a lot better
than RG3
as RG3 started having injuries and not doing the right things. then they wanted Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you get drafted; it's what you perform.
Right, and that's what I said. It means nothing. Where these guys get drafted means absolutely nothing.
I was kind of shocked to hear Manziel. I said, that sounds like
I'm
something
a little surprised.
I think it's something personal. It can't be with Shador.
No.
And so is it Deion again? Guys, that's one thing I say when I talk about certain things happen. Some people can't handle a very confident person. See,
well,
and it turns them off.
him as entitled.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about Shador. I'm talking about Deion.
Oh, yeah,
because he'll come out and say what he has to say. Well, wait a minute.
Deion does rub people the wrong way. Yeah, he can.
I said everything he's doing for his kids and trying to do is no different than what Archie Manning tried to do for his.
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
It's no difference. And that's what you should do as a dad.
Yeah.
Make sure that they're taken care of the right way.
Right. That's kind of what we'll wait and see, because this will be interesting to see how this evolves this year. And this is going to be, at least for NFL, the best thing that could happen to the NFL, because now everybody's going to be really focusing in on, especially the Cleveland Brown training camp. Everybody's going to be eyes on.
Because did they pick Hard Knocks yet? I hope they don't put them in there and try to do that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Irish Mike, you sent me the thing that the NFL draft got higher ratings than the NBA Finals last year.
Yeah, this drafted. Yes, it did.
And and I'll tell you the reason why.
Because of that.
Shador.
They wanted to push that narrative.
Shador Sanders was the reason why people watched not only the first, they watched Friday night, second and third, and probably were watching the Saturday to see if he was going. But Shador Sanders is probably the reason why the ratings were through the roof.
I could believe when I've seen that.
And I believe that.
Yeah, that's why I'm as Irish match you've seen that, because I did see some talking about the third round. I mean, the third round. The third day was the highest rated ever.
Yeah.
Because people don't usually look at that.
No, people ignore the third round. They read about it later, or they flip it on, flip it off. But there were people, I'm sure, that third day from 12 o'clock on.
And waiting.
And we're waiting to see when Shador went.
Yep.
Okay, they were waiting to see him drafted. And then all of the buzz, Mel Kiper flying off the handle. That's all great TV. And what's going to happen?
He's in an insane asylum right now.
Right. What's going to happen is come training camp, all eyes are going to be on Cleveland, because everybody's going to want to see what Shador Sanders does in Cleveland, because he's a ratings magnet. Deion is going to track ratings, TV ratings. Roger Goodell is laughing, loving every minute of this, because people are talking about the NFL and Shador Sanders and all this, and people go, they must be upset. No, they're not upset. This is right up the NFL's. This is right up
money.
There is ratings galore because Shador Sanders, everybody's going to focus in and watch Cleveland's training camp, and they'll be pressed there watching him like they never was. If they didn't have Shador, they'd be like, okay, no, they have Shador Sanders. All eyes are on Cleveland now.
Yeah. Well, did you see that what Shador did do? I like what he did.
Oh, yeah.
He went to Cleveland to work out, and they try to come into that gym, Cleveland Fit, where he's training.
Right.
And he made sure it was no access.
No.
Well, they don't have to see nothing about what's going on. That was good.
They said Shador went to one of the schools and talked to the young kids and told them, be good, study. He was telling all the right.
Yeah, I seen that on there.
Yeah, he was like going and helping the kids and all that.
Yeah.
And it's just what it is, though. It's going to be ratings galore for the NFL.
Yeah, they want money.
Oh, yeah. This is just right up. And I said, that NFL draft ratings are through the roof, and it was because of Shador Sanders.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I keep both the young quarterbacks, though.
Oh, I think.
You didn't.
I don't think you have any choice.
You done had quarterback problems for years, and if both guys got potential, keep both of them.
That's the one thing that Mad Dog Russo said on his show when he was saying he thought the Cleveland Browns made the right move.
Yep.
He said the history of your quarterbacks in Cleveland have been terrible. He rattled off all the ones, Otto Graham was the best quarterback they ever had since him. He goes, you might as well draft and get them in. I mean, yeah, you might as well go with Dylan Gabriel and Shador. Bring them in because that's been your problem for how many years. So bring in and get the possibilities. If maybe Dylan Gabriel's a great quarterback or maybe Shador's, but you got to find out. You got to draft these guys and see what you have.
Right. And this is the thing. I'm trying to think the guy's name from First Things First. I can't think of his first name now, but Wright. His last name is Wright.
Okay.
I'm talking. Can't think of his first name, but anyway, this is the thing they brought up. Eric Mangini kept saying they just needed to bypass these guys and just wait till next year and get Arch Manning.
Right.
Now, here's my problem, which one of the other guys on the panel brought up, and I agree with him. He brought up Greg Cosell, and he talked about how good job Greg Cosell does in quarterbacks. And they said, well, so what? Eric Mangini said, so what? He said, well, here's my thing. He said, everybody's saying, get Arch Manning next year. So it's no problem in getting Arch Manning with only 14 starts. We always talk about the amount of starts. How many games have Arch Manning started at Texas? Anybody know?
One,
right?
One. Yeah, one.
Okay, so next year, let's say he starts. They go all the way to the national championship and win. That's probably only 15 games.
Right, he'll have 16
He have 16 starts.
He may not come out.
Yeah, and that's true. But if he does,
he'll only have 16 starts.
Right.
And that's a problem.
That's a problem. That's what he's saying. He said, so if they say he's ready to be the number one pick, he's more than likely going to come on out. So he comes out with 16 starts. Why is that everybody after him? But then when we look at other quarterbacks, he only had 15, he only had 20.
Well, that's what happened.
No good.
We see
Justin Fields doesn't have enough. He's done. What are we talking about?
If Arch Manning, Anthony Richardson is struggling with this. We talked about Anthony Richardson with the Colts. The problem you have with Anthony Richardson is, I believe the talent is there. He just isn't developing. The problem in the NFL is you can't sit around and develop when you're losing games, and that's your problem. And you don't have the NFL. You don't come along. Well, we're going to go 2-13. No, we can't. No, we can't lose games. We got to win every game.
Yeah, that's why I say don't. That's why you need to get a veteran in there to be that bridge.
Right.
You have to. And allow them to start and let these guys learn, even if it got to be 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. I know you want to win, but if you don't have a full team, now, when you got a team that you got a good defense and all this going on, and the only thing you're lacking is a quarterback, you got to win now. But if you know you're rebuilding, then your thing is develop guys, and you want to make sure that's your future.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. But that just kind of drove me crazy, because a lot of quarterbacks that came out and they always downplayed them because they didn't have enough starts. But if Arch Manning be the first pick next year, he's only going to have a total of 16 starts.
Many starts.
So why is it okay for him and not? You see what I'm saying? That's the thing that I don't get.
You've got to look at, unless you want to say the pedigree is going to override that. But
see that?
No, I agree with you.
Can't do that.
I don't think he's going to be ready to play.
Yeah, and then again, he might be the greatest thing since sliced bread. But it's my thing.
It's the risk.
It's the risk, and why? If it's across the board, and that's when the guy brought up about Greg Cosell, they showed where he said that.
Yeah.
He said it should be across the board, no matter who they are.
No, he's
across the board, because you got to have game action.
Right, that's what he said.
Pedigree.
Right. I've heard Greg Cosell. I think he says the number is like 22 or 25 starts.
I think it was 25.
Yeah, I think
somebody brought it up on that panel too. I think he said 25.
I've heard him say, and he says that's really important in his eyes and his evaluations. How many? Because he goes, you need to see game action. The more game action you see, the better off you are.
Yep.
And
so, So I don't know, and if I want to see him, because when I seen Arch in there, he does throw the ball well.
No, he's a great.
Yeah, I can see it.
But he just hasn't had that many starts.
Right.
And again, I think personally, he obviously doesn't need the money. In fact, Quint Ewers should have stayed another year. He would have made more money in NIL deal.
I think he felt the pressure from Texas of we want him. Arch Manning.
Oh yeah, he was leaving Texas, but he had an NIL deal with another school.
He could have
school. What he made? Yeah, Quinn Ewers supposedly, allegedly had money laid out by the other school.
I think I would have stayed. I'm gonna be honest with you. I even would have stayed if I was Shedeur, because he could have too.
Yeah, he could have stayed another year.
He could have stayed another year
and played another year. Now he had more he had buku starts, because he had the.
But he might have been tired of playing behind that offensive line.
And that offensive line wasn't very good either.
You're running for your life, you might get injured.
But that's the problem. I think that's where he waited out, and he decided, hey, time to come out.
Yeah, and he did play 4 years.
And he played 4 years. So he had the starts. Now, Arch Manning does not have the starts. Now, whether a team will overlook that and draft him number 1 overall, maybe, or he may stay another year.
Yeah, I hope he does, because
he would be better off if he does stay another year, and he'll have, and then obviously money wise, he's going to have more NIL money thrown at him if he stays in Texas another year. That's what happened with Quinn Ewers. He could have got more money from another school, but he went to the draft, and now he's going to get less money as a 7th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, Pat, that his agent, who are representatives, you know how that work with that stuff at college now.
Right.
That they floated out schools out there that were interested in him for NIL deals that those schools weren't interested. You know what I mean? Like, they already had their guys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So they were trying to make their client more money by putting out this school's interested and that school's interested, when in fact they weren't. Like, I think he could have gone somewhere, but it probably wouldn't have been a top 10 program. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
maybe.
That might have
been and maybe he just figured he'd get into the NFL and get the contract and go. Yeah. Nick Wright is the guy from SF1.
Nick Wright.
Yeah.
Now, and where did Ewers go? I know it's 7th round, but I can't remember where he went. But I mean, I know they was talking about he probably got an ample opportunity to be on that roster, and that could end up being a steal, getting him down there that late.
Yeah, I was going to look that up because he. Good question. Let me see where it was. Yeah, they were. Here it is. Ewers ended up the last quarterback drafted in the
Dolphins.
The Dolphins. Thank you, Irishman.
That's what they're saying.
Not a bad landing spot, Dave Clark. That's not a bad landing spot.
Right, because they was talking about. I just couldn't remember what team, and definitely that's not a bad. When you got the starting quarterback who's been missing games every year because of concussions, you know his career is near the end. He can't keep having concussions, and, so they're going to have to get a quarterback in there soon. I think he's in a great position could be their future quarterback. He definitely could be.
Oh no, definitely that could be a great landing spot. Yeah. And that coach is an offensive guru type of guy, good with the quarterback. So if you're Quinn Ewers, that's probably a good spot. I mean, Kyle McCord went to the Eagles at number 6, round 6. He's going to be back up to Hurts. Now, Hurts gets hurt. I mean, injured a lot. I mean, you never know. But Ewers is probably in a better spot. I'll tell you that Will Howard, we didn't talk about it. He went to the Steelers.
Right.
Well, the Steelers, he could end up starting. If Rodgers decides not to go, Will Howard could beat out Mason Rudolph potentially.
Yeah. I don't know though. Something mechanical about Will Howard is something to me. I don't know what it is, but
he made all the throws for the Buckeyes. Now, that's one thing I know, but I watched him against Ohio State. The receivers are great receivers, but he threw them all. He was putting them all in the hands, and I mean, he throws a good ball because the guy's easy catchable.
Yeah, I don't think he beat Mason.
The only problem he has, Lucia, he has a tendency to throw the ball to the other team.
Yeah,
too.
He does.
There it is. That's one. That's what I said. Something mechanical. I don't know what it is.
So we'll see what he does.
But he does. He throws interceptions. He did that a lot at
Kansas
in big moments in Kansas State, in big moments. But he's a guy though. He's tough. He's tough.
Yeah. He made the throws with the Buckeyes, but he had good receivers.
Because I seen a lot of them. He threw up, but those guys wouldn't got it.
They made the catches.
Yeah, and then it's so different again, as we talked about before. Guys run wide open in college football.
Yeah, they do.
So you can get them.
Yeah.
It's not like that in the NFL.
NFL's
he ain't running wide open there.
No, it's different.
It's a different thing. But I do still think that was a good pick on their part.
Oh, yeah.
Because they got to look for the future in this. And I believe with development, even more with some pro coaches, I think he would be the starting quarterback for sure. I just think now, if they just go with what they got, they probably have to start Mason Rudolph.
Oh, they have to.
Will he stay in there? Not if Howard keeps it developed. If
Howard develops,
then I think
and they struggle under Rudolph,
then he'll take over.
He might take over.
Yeah, I do believe that.
Now,
then,
if Rodgers signs, it'll be Rodgers' team.
Some things make me think that he gave them some kind of message that he is going to sign or something, because
you would think
it's just kind of strange.
Well, they didn't want Shador because they didn't draft him, and they could have. So they didn't want Shador Sanders for whatever reason they had in mind. But I was again, and the Raiders could have drafted Shador, and they didn't trade him. I'd sign him either.
And Quinn Ewers was there too. So
yeah, and Quinn Ewers was there.
That's what's kind of strange.
Quinn Ewers got really left. I mean, for a guy that did well in college, he got like 7th round. He was the last quarterback taken, so he was left totally out almost.
Yeah, and the thing about it though, I think the Steelers. I actually thought the Browns drafted Shador so the Steelers wouldn't in the next.
That's what I thought. I thought that's what they moved
then they
up.
went to Howard.
They did move up.
They moved up because
they moved up to get him.
And
I think you're right. That's what
talk about that.
I thought that too. I thought that the Browns moved up to take Shador because they didn't want
the Eagles. The Eagles were about to move up and do the same deal.
What
the Browns beat the Eagles? That's been documented now.
Oh, the Browns beat the Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and getting Shador.
Yeah.
Yes, gave me Shador in the 5th round.
In the 5th,
so they on the phone trying to make a deal, the same deal with the team the Browns did to move up in those slots because the Browns had to give up some stuff to get there.
Yeah, they gave up.
Philadelphia was trying to make a similar move.
Okay,
so it was them because I know the Giants traded up to get Dart because I think the Rams were going to take Jackson Dart. Only reason why I say it is because the Rams were right after that, and then as soon as the Giants moved up to take Dart, Rams traded their. They traded out.
Yeah.
So I think the Rams had their eye on Dart.
Yeah, I think they was going to go after
I think they were. And then the Giants moved up and got him because I know the Giants were going to, I had a feeling the Giants were going to do that. They were talking about them moving up in the 1st round, trading up. If, they got Abdul Carter, who they were either going to take Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, whoever fell to them. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, they were talking about moving back up into that 1st round to see if their Dart was going to get past, and that's what they did. And that might be a good pick too. But again, we don't really know any of this, is because
we'll see.
We're going to see how all these guys pan out. Even though they keep saying it's a weak quarterback class, they don't know that. Nobody knows that. I mean, they say, well, no, this isn't going to be a good quarterback class. Yeah, it might be really good in 3 years. These guys all might be playing good. You don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
I mean, what happens? Yeah, what happens if Shador takes the Browns to the Super Bowl?
That would be insane. It would. Even if it was Dylan Gabriel, it'd be insane. All these quarterbacks,
all
the situations,
weak class.
You come with rookies, and they take you to the Super Bowl.
Right. What if one of these quarterbacks? Right. I'm saying,
that'd be.
That's the best part. Nobody knows.
Now, Dave, Louis Riddick said the other day that he talked to a respected, he knows all the front office people because he was in the front office for years. That he was told by a guy he really, really respects that if Shador Sanders did not go in the top 10 picks of the 2nd round, then the NFL did not view him as a starting quarterback.
Okay.
That they viewed him as a backup quarterback.
Right.
How can they say that? They don't know. They have no idea.
No, but that I know what he's talking about. That's the observation. He's not a starting quarterback.
That's the observation based upon their evaluation.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean their evaluation is going to be correct.
That doesn't. You see, this is the best part of this. That means nothing. That means absolutely nothing. Yeah. Because that evaluation could be toilet paper. Because you don't know when that guy gets in camp with that team, with that his relationship with the quarterback, the coach, and how he might flourish in that system.
Yeah, well, it's all just opinion.
It's all opinion, and that's what cracks me up.
They do have knowledge. Right. They got knowledge.
They have facts, but they don't know.
It's just like we always said, playing the game, and that's in any game. But I know in football, I've always learned that you can't measure my heart.
No.
So you might say, I can't do this, I can't do that. There's no way you can do that. But you don't know what I got inside. No. So you don't know what's going to happen there. That thing can change so quickly.
Look how many teams passed on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
I mean, that are kicking. And Josh Allen. That's the other one. Everybody's kicking themselves. God, we could have drafted Josh Allen. How many times have I heard that statements? Oh, we could have drafted Mahomes. Oh, we could have drafted Josh Allen.
Well, I mean, one of the greatest organizations around. No Cleveland fans don't like hearing it, but the Pittsburgh Steelers always said, wonder if we drafted Dan Marino instead of letting him go.
Yeah.
They win more and more Super Bowls.
They have
I
7
believe.
or 8 Super Bowls now.
That's right.
Well, I'll take you back a little bit further. What if the Steelers didn't cut Johnny Unitas? They let him go.
No,
they cut him.
Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, it's
a lot of yeah.
It's a lot of things.
Dan Marino fell in the draft.
Yep.
One of the best quarterbacks ever. Okay. Thanks, Irish Mike, for calling in. Saturday Morning Sports page. Stay safe. Do not drink it. Do not drive. We'll do it again next week. Western Reserve Radio.
Your home for PAFL football is the iMedia1 Network, Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast, Youngstown, Ohio.
The Sports Betting Network.
Hi, this is Grace Remington for VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Did you know that in all of sports, home advantage is the least meaningful in hockey? The betting records can prove it. Last spring, NHL playoff road teams went 46-42, up 8.7 units. In the last 8 playoff seasons, road teams are up more than 37 units. Home teams have lost 108 units during that span. So when in doubt, back the road team. For more hockey betting tips, get VSiN Pro for just $59 through August 1st. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe. $59 through August 1st. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hour number 2 of the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. Happy Saturday morning to all of you. Jonathan Von Tobel going to come up in 15 minutes. JVT's my guy. I'm a little worried about him, I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit nervous about what today will bring, but maybe he's just used to it as a Clipper fan and the pain he's put himself through over the years. I am fully, we had JVT on the program on Thursday night and wasn't oozing with confidence that his Clippers would take care of business, but they did. They did. JVT were good. And now another Game 7 is here. Now, worth noting, Ty Lue, 4-0 all time in Game 7s. And also worth noting, as Andy Lindahl let us know, it's not like the Nuggets are an unbeatable force at home for Game 7s. They lost last year in Game 7 at home. So JVT going to join us here coming up in a little bit to help us preview tonight, as well as look ahead to tomorrow as the Warriors unable to finish off the Houston Rockets. And, it's kind of a be careful what you wish for type of situation when you think back to Wednesday night, where the Golden State Warriors down pretty significantly against the Houston Rockets and threw in the towel, so to speak. The backups, by the way, made that thing interesting. And when I was sitting here on primetime talking with Will Hill about that Wednesday night performance where the Houston Rockets ultimately needed to put their starters back in the game because it got a little too close for comfort. And I thought Ime Udoka kind of got hoodwinked a little bit by Steve Kerr by putting in the backups too soon and seeing that lead start to slip away. But I give a ton of credit to Houston. Golden State could not figure it out last night, couldn't get the shot going. And now we go back to Houston and the Rockets, who were a significant series dog, obviously down 3-1. Now they find themselves as the betting favorite heading into that game as a 3-point favorite on Sunday evening. So 2 Game 7s. Also taking a look ahead to the 2 Eastern Conference semifinal matchups, which based off of the odds, don't look particularly competitive, but we'll see if those series will be. I'll get to those here in just a moment. We're going to talk a little more hockey with Todd Furman coming up bottom of the hour. Also a Game 7 tonight and a Game 7 tomorrow on the ice. And we just talked once again to Andy Lindahl, breaking it down for us from a Game 7 standpoint. And, I wanted to see if I could unearth it, if I could pull it out of Andy, whether or not we look at the first period under. in this game 7 tonight. And similarly, and we're going to go through, what the series prices have done for Clippers, Denver, Golden State, Houston from a total standpoint here in just a moment. But similarly, you're paying that tax, right? In the first period, the expectation, it's tight in that first period. But Andy kind of pointed this out. If Colorado wants to win this game, they got to avoid some of those mistakes like they had against the Dallas Stars, even in their 7-4 victory. Look, Colorado, a minus 155 favorite on the road against the Dallas Stars here today. And, this is a series that I think has been a bit confusing a little bit. Ooh, got to point this out. We got some over money hitting the market right now on the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. This total has climbed now 3 points this morning. So this thing opened up at 201 with the anticipation to be things are going to tighten up game 7 under. Well, if you played under 201, you're not happy right now because the market has ticked all the way up to 204. So, looking ahead to tomorrow, we'll get you some more thoughts on Clippers Denver here in just a moment. But I think it's fascinating to see the market move this way this morning. And it clearly is a pushback on the tax that you're paying on a game 7 under. So game 1 of Golden State Houston, total was 213. Game goes under, right? That was a game in which the Houston Rockets came out and it was ugly. 95-85 was the final score. So it goes way under. You see an adjustment of 8 points to game 2. Goes from 213, and I'm using closing lines, to 205. Game 2, Houston gets their zigzag. Once again, the zigzag, even though Houston able to win last night to disrupt the zigzag, 65.6% it is hitting. 21, 11, and 1 in the NBA playoffs so far this year. The team that loses wins and covers the next game. JVT has been all over that, and I saw Dave Tooley also tweet about it last night as well. But the zigzag came home in game 2 with the Houston Rockets, 109-94, but another under. Game 3, we go to Golden State. We see no adjustment in the total from game 2, 205. It goes under again, 104-93, the final score. So under. 3-0 to the under to start the series. Adjustment. 204, the total for game 4. Over we go, 109-106. Game 5, 113-116, way over the total of 203, which was the lowest total of the series to date. And then we see the adjustment for last night back to 208, and it goes over again, 115-107. So it's been a run here on these totals, right? 3 unders, 3 overs, and now game 7, opens 201. And what has the market told us? It said that's an overreaction, and it's moving up. So now it sits at 204. So the overreaction to a game 7, the tax, the market is disagreeing with it and has moved that total back to 3 points, back to where we were kind of in the middle portion of this series with 3 straight overs. So the feel is, at least from the betting market, that the market shouldn't have overreacted to a game 7. Speaking of which, let's go to Denver and the Clippers. This series opens up with a very high total of 224.5. Remember how this all started, right? It was a lot of unders coming home in the start of the postseason. Game number 1 goes to overtime, 112-110 the final score, game 1 in Denver. Still goes under the total of 224.5. So similarly to Golden State Houston, we saw a big adjustment. We go from 224.5 to 217.5 for game 2 in Denver. What happens? Under again, 105-102. Another adjustment. So now when you look at game 3 versus game 1, an adjustment of 11 points to the total, 213.5 the posted total or the closing number for game 3. What happened? Under again, 3 straight unders. Game 4, we go to 211.5. So we had moved 13 points from the closing number of game 1 to the closing number of game 4. Under again, 4-0 to the under to start the series. And then finally is when we saw the over finally hit. And that's the Jamal Murray performance that we saw in Game 5 at Denver, where Jamal Murray went off for 43 points. It was a tremendous shooting performance all night long from the Denver Nuggets in Game 5, our first over in the series. So a total of 210 for Game 5. Clippers, by the way, worth noting here, Game 5, the 131-115 win for the Denver Nuggets. Because of the zigzag, the belief was Game 5 off of the Game 4 loss at home, the Aaron Gordon dunk at the buzzer, you would get the zigzag there, you would get the Clippers victory. Obviously, that was not the case. One of the few times this postseason, the zigzag obviously has not come home. But thinking about this, Game 5 in Denver, Clippers were -2. Tonight, Nuggets are -1.5. Same lineup, different result, obviously, a Game 5, but the Nuggets are the favorite when they were a dog just a couple days ago at home against the Los Angeles Clippers. Back to the total, 213 for Game 6. What happened there? We saw an over, 111-105. So totals in this series, 4-2 to the under, but the over has seen 2 straight games hit. And this one, when you look at the total there, it's also seen a little bit of resistance, right? This thing opened up at 204.5, and we've seen over money come in. So I'd be curious to see what JBT thinks ultimately about where we head. Going back to the opener at DraftKings, opened 209.5, blasted to the under 204.5, and now we're getting that buyback here, sitting at 207. So got to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Is it a situation from an in-game standpoint that you look and wait and see how it's playing out here? I've got a pre-series play on the Clippers. I got them at +120. I know JVT, I think, got a better number. There was some really good numbers out there on the Clippers when this series price first initially popped. And now here we are in a Game 7. The Clippers, I think most of us could argue, the Clippers have wrapped this thing up, right? Should be sitting in a much more advantageous spot, but not the case. JVT going to join us here in just a little bit. But hey, just a reminder, if you want to bet smarter, not louder, you got to check out the Sharp Plays at sharpplays.com, where the real bettors go to get ahead. Most of the betting world, it's just noise, chasing steam, copying picks, recycling the same old, quote, value plays. They're not sharp. They're just parrots. The Sharp Plays is the source they're echoing. Since 2011, it's been locked in with what the real pros are betting. Elite groups, sharp money, the kind that actually moves the market. When the Sharp Plays jump on a side, the line reacts. So head on over to sharpplays.com. Respected, watched, feared. Once again, sharpplays.com. I want to get JVT's thoughts, too, on the Eastern Conference semifinals. Massive series prices out there on both the Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it feels like, and I don't want to say the overarching, but it feels like there's a bit of a thought that the Pacers are going to keep it competitive. I don't think JVT agrees with that. I have a bet on that series as well that I've already put in. We'll hit on that on the other side. Busy day ahead. By the way, just saw a glimpse of Churchill Downs. Woo, buddy, that is one muddy track. It is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Will new tariffs impact small businesses? Rising costs and economic uncertainty can hurt your bottom line. But with Swish Funding, your business can stay strong. We offer fast, flexible funding solutions from $10,000 to $2 million for working capital, cash flow, and more, and as little as 24 hours with no collateral needed. If your business earns at least $50,000 per month and has been around for over a year, you could qualify today. Go to swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. we can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you are ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Someone's got to set the tone out there, boys. Someone's got to set it.
The station that sets the tone for Youngstown Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio. WIDV, The Scourge.
Hi, this is Grace Remington for VEASAN, the Sports Betting Network. Here's your EPL best bet from Nigel Seeley. Brighton season has taken a nosedive. Once dreaming of Champions League spots and FA Cup glory, the Seagulls are now leaking goals, conceding at least twice in 6 straight league games. Newcastle can capitalize with their explosive attack. Eddie Howie's side has top 5 ambitions and momentum on their side. Bet Newcastle on the money line plus 128. Sign up for VEASAN Pro for just $59 through August 1st. Go to VEASAN.com/subscribe. Go to VEASAN.com/subscribe.
You're tuned in to the VEASAN Weekend Morning Line.
All right, I'm going to try to uplift our next guest. He seems down in the dumps. He's already worried. He's worked with humans way too long. He's got no hope for tonight. And he's also an Angels fan, and he had to witness whatever that was from their bullpen last night as Riley Green did something that's never been done before in the history of baseball. 2 homers in the 9th inning, 8 runs for the Tigers against his beloved Angels. JVT, how you doing, man? I feel like you're already anticipating the worst with your beloved Clippers tonight. Can I do anything to lift the spirits?
No, I mean, look, I don't really trust the Clippers. The Angels stink. So, yeah, there's really nothing. Looking forward to tonight to watch that and ultimately get angry. The only upside, silver lining of everything that has transpired is the fact that I have Riley Green on my fantasy team. So at least I got to benefit from that yesterday. But this team's been incredible. You even go back to the game prior to that where they were up 4-2 and they give up, I think, 5 runs in an inning or whatever it was. So this has been an absolute nightmare. Trout's back on the IL. Yeah, everything's going really poorly.
But you're still, that hat looks sharp. The Angels hat looks good. So You got that going for you. And you got money moves, you and Stormy, weekdays from noon to 2 as it has gotten rolling. So something that you discussed on Money Moves earlier this week, we talked about it a little bit when you joined us on Thursday night on Primetime, which is the zigzag. It did not come home, obviously, last night as the Houston Rockets were able to get the victory. But still, this has been a trend that has been very profitable so far in this postseason. I believe the number is now 21-11-1 ATS for teams that have lost the previous game. I'm curious because I know the way that you bet, and you like to kind of go against the popular trends. What do you make of this zigzag theory? Is this something sustainable? Is this a blip? What's your overall take on the profitability of the zigzag so far in the NBA postseason?
It's not profitable. It can't be, even though it has been so far. Go back to last night where, again, I was playing against the theory of the zigzag, but the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. I mean, that number, Tim, I got 5.5 with the Houston Rockets yesterday. That's an incredible number considering where you were at through the course of that series. And then they stay inside of that number, keep the Warriors at arm's length the entire time, essentially cover wire to wire. But like, that's a really inflated number. And those are the kind of numbers that you're betting into if you're just blindly betting the zigzag. So to me, no, it is not. Like, at some point it is going to start to dry up. and maybe we're starting to get to that point. For that number to swing from 4.5 in Houston to 5.5 in favor of Golden State back at home because they're at home in an elimination game and they lost the last one, it just doesn't make any sense. So I don't think over the long term that will be the case. So we'll see with this first round coming to an end with both Golden State, Houston, and LA, Denver wrapping up this weekend. Keep track of it round by round. But I do think that we're going to get to a point where this evens back out because some of the numbers get so inflated for these teams coming off of a loss just because they lost the previous contest. And it's got to be something where I think that it has to expire at some point.
Jonathan Von Tobel joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Of course, you can catch him weekdays with Stormy on Money Moves. You can follow him on Twitter at @MeJVT. All right. Looking at the total, and I want to get your perspective on tomorrow night as well, because we've seen the over take a bunch of money in Golden State, Houston this morning, going from 201 to 204. There's that initial tax, right? Once again, to your point about the zigzag, you're paying this tax on the expectation of a team bouncing back. Looking at the total here tonight, game 6 was 213, game 5 was 210. Now, game 1, way back when, was 224.5. Here we sit at 206.5, 207. You're starting to see the market disagree and say, no, this has gone too far with that game 7 under tax. What do you make of this total, and what do you make of the fact that the market clearly is saying you've set this number too low?
Yeah, I think it makes some sense when you're talking about it getting a little too low. This has been a really slow series. It's been the second slowest series in terms of possessions per game, other than the first round series between Orlando and Boston. So this has been a very slow series. It has been a series in which you're not getting to the free throw line a ton because of the way these two teams operate on offense and the way their superstars operate. So it's not surprising that maybe you're going to get this buyback, only because these are offenses that have been operating at a pretty efficient level in the back end of the series, and maybe you're going to get that to happen. Like, the tempo is already there for these two teams. I don't think it gets much slower than that. And I think that both teams have really kind of shown that they get how to attack the other. I also think the adjustments that have been made, Nick Batum going out there for the Los Angeles Clippers, would expect that he starts here tonight in place of Chris Dunn. That's going to really up the ante in terms of the ability to score for the LA Clippers. They're a good 3-point shooting team and, a very tight number, slightly higher chance of overtime between these two. It's a 1.5 point spread. I think all of those factors, I would very much agree with the market going, you know what, like 204, 204.5, it's a little high, or should be a little low. Let's bump this thing up a little bit higher and get that to a more plausible number. And like you said, we are 17.5 points away from the first number that we saw in this series. At some point, that's a very, very big adjustment.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think that, at one point in time, I think this was almost 19 points difference from game 1, a game 1, which, by the way, had overtime and still went under the total. Jonathan Von Tobel joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line, getting us ready for Clippers and Nuggets. So we've got a point spread of 1.5. Obviously, from an in-game standpoint, probably better to go that route because it feels like there will be swings certainly tonight there at Ball Arena. But is this number correct? Game 5 in Denver was Clippers -2. Now, I think some of that was predicated on the bounce back thought process there. But what do you make of the number where we are? Game 1, I think, closed Denver -1. And here we are, game 7 at -1.5 in favor of the Nuggets.
I think I get it. I don't trust the Clippers at all. And the Nuggets have actually been there and done that. And I think you understand why this number is where it is. But it's also worth pointing out here that the Denver Nuggets did have a 3-2 series lead last year, and they lost that thing. The Nuggets have actually lost multiple Game 7s in the Nikola Jokic era. They've played the most as well in the Nikola Jokic era here in the postseason. So I think that it's not unthinkable that the Los Angeles Clippers were able to come in here and win this game. But to your point, it is pretty interesting where every other game in Denver had, except for one, had the Clippers as the favorite. But now all of a sudden in an elimination game, we have to shift this the other way. I do think that there is inherent value in looking at the Los Angeles Clippers today. The question is just whether you trust them to actually pull it off. Look, we shouldn't be here at this point of the series, Tim. The series should be over. The Clippers blew 2 games in this series, and this is why you're playing an elimination game on the road. Now, Kawhi Leonard has done it before, too. The last series that he finished healthy with the Los Angeles Clippers, he led them back from a 3-2 series deficit against the Dallas Mavericks, went on the road in Game 6, and then went out and at home in Game 7 and got it done. So there's a little bit of history here. They have done it before, but I don't know if I really trust them given the way they played. Look at the end of the last game, where they take the ball, they take the air out of the ball, and they almost blow that. If Russell Westbrook can hit a layup in transition, we're maybe talking about this series being over potentially. So I just don't trust this team. They have shown me nothing that makes me think they can step up to the moment. They have trailed in every single first quarter in this series at the end of it, except for I think one. They've gotten off the slow starts. They've been apathetic, and yet here they are. So maybe it's a testament how good they are, but I don't know if I've seen anything that would make me trust them.
Jonathan Von Tobel, co-host of Money Moves, weekdays here on the network, noon to 2 p.m. Eastern time. I do want to get a quick thought on tomorrow night, Game 7, but anything you are going to have in the account heading into tonight's game? I know pre-series, you and I both have a Clippers ticket. I think your ticket a little bit juicier than mine. Anything you're looking to add tonight as we head into this Game 7?
No, I was looking. I haven't seen it yet. But if you could find anything Chris Dunn related, if it's still hanging around that like 10.5 range for points, rebounds, and assists, I think that's worth playing under. Dunn has now been eliminated from the series. He got benched in the second half after playing 7 minutes and didn't go in to the rest of the game after Batum went in for him. I do think that there's something there, and it's kind of like a free space in bingo where if he gets into the game, or excuse me, if he doesn't get into the game, then of course he doesn't play any minutes, you get the money back. And if he does, I don't think it's going to be a big role. I don't think he fits here for this series. I think he fits a little bit better in the next series where they might need him against a more backcourt oriented team. So look out for some Chris Dunn's point, rebounds, and assists. I was trying to find that to play it again. I played it in the last game. I want to play it under again here if it's the right number.
All right, quick thought tomorrow. Obviously, we have 2 games tomorrow. We got Indiana-Cleveland series starting, but I do want to get your thoughts quickly on Game 7, Golden State and Houston. You know, be careful what you wish for, right? Golden State kind of conceded up 3-1 on the road at Houston. Then they lose again last night. You were on the Houston side. Rockets laying 3. And as I mentioned in the last segment, JVT, we've seen the over take some serious money this morning from 201 out to 204. So once again, the market's saying, it's probably gone a little too far.
Yeah, I think when you look at this too, I thought the number was cheap. I laid 2 yesterday on the side with the Houston Rockets to win this game. I think the number, again, when we're talking about in the last few home games, each team has been laying 4, and yet we open this up and it's 2. The Rockets have proven that they are the better team, I think, at this point. They just have more size. It has given the Warriors problems. The Warriors' offense has been atrocious. The spacing has been awful. They start Gary Payton yesterday, Tim, and that's another non-shooter that's not a threat. Completely clogs up the floor for Golden State. And the only other lever they have to pull is Jonathan Kuminga, who is also somebody who is not going to threaten you in terms of floor spacing. I think this series is a little cooked here for Golden State. Obviously, going into Game 7 on the road, it's a tough spot. I get playoff Jimmy. I get Steph Curry. But I think there's too many matchups that work in the Rockets' favor.
He's Jonathan Von Tobel. Follow him at MeJVT. It's going to be okay, JVT. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, I can't wait.
The confidence is oozing out of Clipper fan Jonathan Von Tobel's pores.
Take your betting action to the next level by playing the ponies on First Bet. First Bet is U.S.-based and offers wagering on hundreds of races every day from across the country and around the world. From Santa Anita and Gulfstream to the Kentucky...
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to when you checked on me? I don't want to leave, But remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart and don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range today. For help keeping yours at a healthy range, text PRESSURE to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman!
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
To the stations that are always ahead of the game. Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast. Youngstown, Ohio.
Today at circalasvegas.com.
Your favorite VSiN shows and personalities are now available to download as podcasts. Catch every hour of our live broadcast with VSiN Best Bets, or find your go-to show and download it directly. Get instant reactions to last night's games, sharp analysis on today's biggest matchups, and everything in between. Whether you're commuting, working out, or just catching up, VSiN lets you take the action with you wherever and whenever you want. Search VSiN on your favorite podcast platform and get in on the action you want. Search VSiN on your favorite podcast platform and get in on the action with VSiN, the sports betting network.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling, man. We got to pick it up. We got to pick up the energy. I mean, I love my guy JVT. I'm worried. We need to lift up his spirits, and I think we need to make a petition to the Nugget fans out there and just say, look, you had a championship a couple of years ago. He needs this. So let's let him have this one, and then we can worry about the Thunder. I'm gonna make some calls, and we'll see if we can make that happen. All right. Let's pivot though. Speaking of Denver, not only will they have a game 7 in their city tonight on the hardwood, they'll have a game 7 to focus on down in Texas against the Dallas Stars. And help us break it down, our good friend Todd Furman joins us right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Todd, before we get to the game 7 tonight, I'm going to ask you a very, very wise question as me, the hockey expert. What the hell is wrong with Connor Hellebuck?
It's a great question. But before we get into that, Tim, I haven't heard one of your guests that sad about his team since you going into the national championship as a Notre Dame fan. The JVT resigned to the fact that his Clippers are yet again going to let him down in a game of this magnitude. But as far as Connor Hellebuck is concerned, look, we know that goaltending is about as mental a position you're going to find in any sport. And for whatever reason, when Connor Hellebuck takes his game on the road in the NHL postseason, he has looked like a goalie performing at a well below average level. And I know we'll get into a little bit of a breakdown of Game 7 between the Blues and Jets, but if you look at a stat in hockey, there's one for goaltenders called goals saved above expected. So far this postseason, Connor Hellebuck is 25th out of 25 goalies, and he's given up nearly 10 goals more than what an average goalie would in those same spots. The only goalie within a stone's throw of him is Stuart Skinner, and that's at minus 4.5 goals saved above expected. So Hellebuck is fighting it, but we'll see if he can erase some of those demons with a Game 7 win against the Blues.
Yeah, that'll be tomorrow night in a Winnipeg. I believe the stat I heard last night on SportsCenter, is this the first Game 7 since like the 70s in Winnipeg, Todd?
Late 1977, I believe it was. They weren't even a member of the NHL at that point. I think it was the WHA, and they played a now defunct hockey organization in all of that. So it puts things in perspective how long it has been for the folks in the Peg to have a home game in Game 7. So a lot at stake tomorrow for their beloved Jets.
1977. Todd Furman joining us courtesy of our progressive guest line. Colorado, Dallas tonight. And, you've got a situation where the market is taking the Colorado Avalanche here. I'm looking at the board right now. DraftKings as high as minus $170. Circa, where I sit, minus 159. Superbook out to minus 164. Before we dive into the X's and O's of tonight, how would you describe this series? Because after game one, it was like, all right, this is what we expected. Colorado's the better team. They blasted Dallas, and now we've just seen this kind of this tug of war, so to speak. So, how would you put your finger on this series as we head into Game 7 tonight, Todd?
Dallas has been outplayed for extended stretches in this series, and I think a lot of us anticipated coming into this particular round that the Stars, shorthanded without Miro Heiskanen on their blue line and without Jason Robertson up front, just didn't have that high-end talent, some of that star power they were going to need to slow down the Colorado Avalanche. And if you really dig into some of the numbers, the one game where Dallas looked to be the superior team was Game 5 they played at home. They scored 9 seconds in on a fortuitous bounce from Wyatt Johnson and were able to play downhill. The one thing that we have seen so far in this series, though, that I think is pretty consistent is that when Colorado plays its A game, Dallas just doesn't have any answers. The challenge for the Avalanche will be, again tonight, if they don't have that A game, is their floor high enough to knock off a Stars team that has a decided edge in net with Jake Ottinger and has been in these kind of situations before where Peter DeBoer 8-0 in Game 7s with 4 different organizations and Nathan McKinnon 0-3 in his career, never being able to push his team across the finish line in those kind of spots. Again, small sample sizes, but always fun to try and discuss who gets a bounce here and who gets a bounce there.
Todd Furman joining us once again, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Does work for CBS Sports HQ. Also the founder of the Bet the Board, co-founder. I don't want to get Payne Insider upset at me. Co-founder of the Bet the Board podcast, which we're all looking forward to another football season there of the Bet the Board pod. So, we were just talking about the tax that you have to pay in the NBA for Game 7 unders. Since 2019, unders on the hardwood in Game 7s are 14-5. Market's disagreeing, though, right? They're saying this number's gone too low. We're going to bet some overs here, whether it be Golden State, Houston moving 3 points this morning, a little bit of movement in the Clippers, Denver over, Todd. So I say all that to bring it to first period under. A jabroni like me even looks at first period unders like, well, things are going to tighten up in Game 7s. So how do you look at this number, 1.5 juiced under around minus 20? So we've seen some movement to the under here for this first period under.
So I make a slight case to go under. I don't think you're stealing anything. I'm not going to claim that there is a massive mathematical edge to trying to go under in the first period in this game. But I do think for the Dallas Stars, playing in their own building, they know they have to tighten things up defensively, minimize the ability of Colorado to get out and transition, and take advantage like they were able to do in Game 6, where you saw an Avs team put Jake Ottinger under duress for the better part of that second and third period. Players like Nathan McKinnon, Marty Necas, even Gabriel Landeskog returning from injury. I mean, these are guys that want to try and turn it into a full 200-foot game compared to Dallas, who's a little bit thin on the blue line and knows they don't have some of those cogs. So I lean under 1.5 in the first period. I think minus 20 should be the cutoff. But you mentioned some of the tax that they force you to pay. I mean, look at Game 6. We saw that total in Denver, 6 over minus $1.25. Some books even going to 6.5 shaded to the under. We